Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of the Sonic Movie Show, the only show that reviews every single video game movie. My name is Ethan, and with me here on this cold, dark, and spooky night, as always, is Devin.
Why do I always get the weirdos?
And speaking of weirdos, it's David, a
What
weirdo.
the heck?
How's it going?
I stopped you before you got to too much.
There's not much to say, you're here.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I saw into another timeline where it was.
Listen, you knew what I was going to say ahead of time, and you were just prepping your overreaction to it. You know
Yes.
what I mean? So,
Yes.
boys, if the timing is correct, it is the spooky hour of the spooky night of what would be the last Sunday in October, the 27th. Maybe, if we time this correctly. Or maybe instead it was the 3rd of November. But in any case...
It's that post, Halloween
The
sometimes
spookiest.
goes a little bit longer,
Absolutely.
Sometimes the spookiness goes.
Well, because, some movies come out on Halloween, and so,
Right.
most people won't watch it in October because of that, you know what I mean? But, yes, boys, we, as always, review every single video game movie.
If it does
Go
go out on October 27th, this episode, it'll be the 1-year anniversary of this movie we're reviewing today.
Really?
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so
October
this is-
27th, 2023.
And the movie that we watched, as folks probably can tell by the name of this episode, was the 2023 film Five Nights at Freddy's. We always like to go around the horn here. That's a sports reference. And give, if any, a history of
Sports Center,
the video
I think.
game that the movies are based off of, if we have any experience or knowledge of it. Now, I know the three of us were born in the year of 1995,
Yeah,
which
Brady
means that,
never-
yeah, well, some of us older than others, but still within
Our
1995.
last great president.
Bush?
Who was that?
Oh, no, he died in 1980. That's right. Um,
Just going to make it really confusing for people.
I don't know where you were going with that.
No, I was just joking.
With the year that this video game came out, Five Nights at Freddy's, I believe was 2014. We were all, post high school. We were adults technically, and so I feel like this, if I can speak for the three of us, is one of those games really popular with kids. That's post us being children. I know we were in high school when Minecraft came out, but I consider that and Terraria, and there's a mobile game where you're a square and you're just tapping to make it jump or something like that. That game and Five Nights at Freddy's are this Gen Z era of games that kids now, especially kids that might be at just
Minecraft.
after 20s, are nostalgic for. And
Yeah, it
this
was
movie
August-
being basically a decade after that game came out, I think is nostalgic for them, not us. But
I was going to say August 8th, 2014, it released on Desura, and then it also released on Steam after crowdsourcing through their Greenlight service there. Is that
That's
even
right,
a thing
Steam-
anymore?
Green
No,
light service?
Steam Greenlight was their way of being you can self-publish on Steam as an indie. Well, you just need to get upvotes from people that would you would basically be would you play this game? Yes or no? I guess. Would you play this game? Yes or no? No. It was a dumb time. There was actual indie developers that struggled to get their regular games on Steam because of that server, the way they did that. They sunset that in I feel 2016 or something like that. And just was just no, you can just self-publish on Steam. We don't care anymore. Anyone play or know anything about Five Nights at the Freddy's? David?
No. I mean, I think I've seen obviously clips of it, but I'm 99% sure of. Well, I definitely haven't played it. I don't know if I've even watched someone play it for longer than 20 seconds.
Okay.
I have zero, but at the same time,
Those 20
I feel
seconds
like
are
I also-
probably everything you need to know.
that's yeah, that's what I was going to say is I feel like I fully understand the game,
Yeah.
even though, yeah.
Devin?
Yeah, so this came out, for, like you said, right after high school, so 2014, right? And how I heard of this game was through, I was watching another YouTuber who was making fun of. He made not even making fun of. He made one joke about Markiplier in it, and then that's how I heard of the game. Or maybe he was playing this game and making fun of like overreaction of him, being like, "Hey, this no, it was all Sham Noel." Like he was like, "Hey, this game isn't really that scary. Like there's much scarier games out there." But he's like, "I get it. Some people need to, overreact for their views or something like that." Whatever. YouTube drama of 2014 era. Who cares? It's also a throwaway joke drama he made, and it made a whole. I remember it was a big thing at the time, and everyone was like getting butthurt about of something. It's like whatever, you like what you like. Who cares how they do it? It's not. Who cares? Right. Nothing against Markiplier. I'm sure he's a cool dude.
And most of the time, the people in the comments throwing hate are just jealous that they don't get to do that themselves. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. There's always gonna be cringe stuff. I'm sure someone could watch this and be like, "This is cringe," and then they're watching what I could say is cringe. You know what I mean? It's whatever. I'd rather someone be honest, anyways, and rather than just worrying about cringe and whatever. But yeah, that's how I heard of it. And then like I've seen screenshots of it, maybe clips of it. So I guess probably a little bit more than what David has seen. I don't know how many there are. I just remember when it first came out, and I'll say there's one point in the movie. Where like they first showed like the desk, and the desk did look.
I think my thing stopped recording.
The flames of disaster.
And we're back.
Well, I'm back.
We're back.
We're back.
I don't know. I don't know when
but
I don't know where it cut. But I'm just gonna finish my point. Is I think I've seen more than what David has probably seen, but I'm not gonna say I've watched like a huge Let's Play of Five Nights at Freddy's. I didn't know any of the lore. I don't know any of the names really outside of something Fazbear. I don't know, and Freddy. But I didn't know like if even watching this movie, I'm like, is this how much of this was shown in the games or you can find in the games? I don't know. There's been how many sequels? I don't know how many sequels there's been. But yeah, my knowledge is very little. I think when I first heard about them making a movie and I looked it up. It was in like 2015 they announced that they're going to make a Five Nights at Freddy's movie.
Really?
So it's been almost...
And what year did it come out?
2014.
The game... No, this movie came out last year.
Yeah.
So, wow. Yeah, almost 10 years to make this movie. It probably went through how some of these video game movies, I feel like, go through, right? Unless you're like... I don't know. I mean, like,
I think for some of them, it's like, hey, we bought the film rights to this property, and we're just gonna sit on it until someone comes up with an idea, or we have someone that has room or time, or
there's
whatever.
Scripts that get thrown out.
The Metal Gear movie is a perfect example. The Kong Skull Island director, I forgot his name, is like, yep, still working on a script. It's like, buddy, it's been like 6 years since I started following you on Twitter about this movie. Like. I don't.
Yeah, he's made two
he's
Godzilla versus Kong movies at this point, or whatever. Yeah, or maybe I'm thinking of a different guy, but whatever, doesn't matter. But yeah, I feel like this is one of those examples where like, yeah, we're gonna make this movie because it's all the rage right now. But sometimes these video game movies take forever to get there.
Yeah,
that like the hype is kind of gone. But Five Nights at Freddy's, to my understanding, is still decently popular. But at this point, it's more nostalgic, though, like you said, Ethan. I wouldn't put it at the same level as like Minecraft, where the Minecraft movie will do numbers. I know we talked about that.
And those Five Nights at Freddy's games are like kind of, I don't want to say dead, but like Minecraft just kept its popularity. Sure, it had like a spike.
It's also a replayable game, from my understanding too. These games are like you kind of beat them, and it's like, why would you play through them again? I can do
it on a kind of harder style, but. So like, okay, so I haven't played any of these games until we were like, okay, we're gonna do this episode. But my knowledge on it was, okay, I know the creator initially was making some game about like a beaver or a woodchuck side-scrolling platformer thing, and I don't know what their current name is, so I'm just gonna say whoever had hosted the Jimquisition YouTube series from years ago. At that point, that person had apparently did a review or critique on it, and other people did it as well. But like, the main critique was like, "Hey, your woodchuck or beaver character, some small mammal rodent guy, because the guy, the creator, Scott Crofton, I think is his name is, had done this weird like pre-rendered kind of look to everything. People were like, your animal character looks scary, like it looks creepy. It doesn't look like a protagonist in a platform or whatever it was. This just doesn't work. And the guy got the idea of like, all right, cool, I'll just make these guys creepy then, and then that's where you get this game from. Supposedly, that's kind of how the story goes. And yeah, so like that first game would come out, I guess, in August of 2014. It is literally 5 nights. There's a bonus night, but it's a very basic premise. What I will say, I'll give credit to Scott Crofton for 3 things, actually. First off, game is very efficiently made, very simple. It is literally a bunch of pre-rendered images. Like your office is a pre-rendered like GIF, essentially. There's a desk fan that's spinning, and it's got this weird thing where like they bend it to being like a semi-bent out thing so that you can turn, and you're kind of seeing it shift around you, but you can basically see that yes, it is just a flat image that's been bent. And then you have all these camera views, which are also pre-rendered, images that then have the guys stand. There's no movement in any of these. When they want to have one of the characters move from one camera to another, they fuck with the camera. And then, they're somewhere else now. Where did they go? And it's just a very basic gameplay thing of like, you have electricity to power your security room. When it goes out, you're fucked, because you can use the electricity to power on these blast doors that keep you safe, and you have lights, and you can look at the cameras. So you don't want to just have the doors down because you'll run out of power, and you have to work from midnight to 6 in the morning, and then you're out. After watching the movie, and I purposely did this way as opposed to the other video game movies we did, I played the game for the first time after watching the movie. I got a collection of the first 5 Nights at Freddy's.
First 5.
This is the other thing I'll give him credit for. These things are so these are efficiently made, very simple ideas, and he knew it was very popular, so he pumped them the fuck out. Dude, these came out within the span. You could probably look it up, Devin, easier than I can, but like I swear in like 2 years or something like that at the most.
Yeah, there
like,
was
5 in 2 years.
They came out so fast.
The first one was August 8th, 2014. Then the the first sequel, November 10th, 2014, March 2nd, 2015, July 23rd, 2015. Then he did take a year break and finally got October 7th, 2016.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then December 4th, 2017. Then he's been doing looks like almost every year since then. So
and there's now after these
since then still to this day.
There's still so here's the thing.
2013 was the last one. December.
These first 5 were the pre-rendered style, like I'm saying, and they changed it up. The second one doesn't have the blast doors. Instead, it's about flashlights and there's crawling vents and whatnot. But and like a mechanic with a music box or whatever. But like after that, it's like, there's people that actually work on these games now, and they're like fully like I don't want to say regular video games, but they're not pre-rendered images. It's like a fully 3D thing. And there's been a couple of VR games as well.
It doesn't look as like flash gamey, right?
Exactly. And even then, like, I got this collection. This is a PS4 collection that came out in 2019. They're in 4x3. At least some of them. So you could stretch them.
Wow.
Like, because, like, these are essentially PC games, but not, like, they're more traditional PC games in the sense that they're PC-ass PC games meant for a mouse and not, like, a console game that is on a PC, if that makes sense. And iPad games. These were all on the iPad and the iPhone, and kids were really into that. And the third thing that I'll give Scott Crofton credit for just getting that bag in general, right? So we had efficiently made. He pumped them the fuck out like crazy early on. That's almost kind of like, Minecraft, you said, has that replayability. Well, in 3 months, here's a new game. Kind of keeps that going, I guess, in that sense, because it's all just the same idea. But the third idea for how to trace that money, there's a YouTuber I respect that he's getting his own bag, but I do not appreciate his work. The game theory guy He'd be like, I have a game theory. And it's just nonsense about a video game that you can conspiracy theorize into correct. I watched one that was about Zelda, and I'm like, but that's just not true, though. But I get that, like, if you had a certain frame of mind,
most conspiracy theories,
right? And that's the thing. If you had a certain frame of mind and you wanted to work towards a conclusion, you can find the stepping stones to get there.
Yeah.
And like, it was all for fun. I understand that, but I'm like, this has no value for me that wanted video game history. I'm like, ooh, whatever. But anyway, that guy did a bunch of theory videos on Five Nights at Freddy's about like theorizing about like the lore and all that. And the Scott Crofton guy's like, no, but now yes. Fuck it. Whatever you said, yes, that's true now. And he would just go with
Thank you for doing the writing for me, basically.
Yeah,
instead
like,
of just ideas I had put on there. It's like, hey, thank you for, letting basically a fan write equivalent
Absolutely.
of doing the work for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And because like those videos had tons of views from children that would buy these games. It's like, oh, fuck it. If this is what the kids want, fine. Yes. Here you go.
It feels like a dungeon master, like in D&D, just being like the players, like hearing the players be like, "What if this is the case?" And he's like, "Now it is."
I didn't. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for making it easier.
Idea, but yes.
Be like, yeah,
yes,
that would
exactly.
be crazy. It's happening.
Exactly. So I respect him for getting that bag in a way that doesn't seem to be like evil about it, if that makes sense. Like, he's like, fuck it, just make the games. The kids like the games.
I would rather have, I don't know anything about this guy, but I'd rather have 5,000 of those versus like the 5,000 React gamer, capital G gamer YouTubers who call everything woke when there's just a woman on screen.
Sure.
I'd rather have that. Talking about cringe, we're talking about cringe earlier. Markiplier is God compared to...
He somehow hasn't been canceled. He seems like he's just like a normal guy.
The flames of disaster!
PC gaming.
All right. Yeah, so he got his bag. He did his thing. I appreciate the fact that, like we said, he made him quickly. He made him efficiently for himself. And, like, he just did the thing that, like, the kids wanted. He literally saw evidence of what they wanted, and he decided to go for it. I actually also point out that that game theory guy is in the movie. He's like the waiter guy at like the restaurant that they go to and don't order any food at. That's why he's like, lunch is more important. It's just a theory, and he winks at the camera or whatever because his line is, "It's a game theory." I have a theory.
That's funny though. I'll give him that.
Whatever. Like, I hate just because I hate the shtick, but like whatever, it works and it seems like it's harmless. It's not like he's doing 9/11 truther videos or anything like that. You know what I mean? He hasn't gone down that hole. Yeah. So there's that. What else about the whole thing? Oh, I will say gameplay wise. Now, granted, yeah, I played it for the first time now and whatever, and I played through the first game. And I like started the second game for a bit, just to see like how much changes. I will just say, I don't necessarily find the gameplay to be fun or satisfying. It's kind of just like a lot of waiting, and it's a lot of like checking the cameras and being like, okay, one of them's getting close. I will prepare the thing I'm supposed to do if they get close enough. Like, I'm not making any decisions that I'm like, yes, this is what I want. This is the right decision. It's just a lot of like, I hope I just don't get fucked. If that makes sense. Like, oh, okay, something, I better do a thing.
But to
I'm
me,
not making any choices
the real
preemptively.
entertainment, I think a lot of people get out of it, right, is the scare part. So
Right.
in all honesty, Ethan, I need a scare meter. How many times did you jump? Did you yelp? What happened?
Sure.
And were you in the mood for it? Because
I had to change a couple depends.
Was the lights off?
The lights were on.
Lights gotta be off.
Not these lights.
That's a no.
Boo.
That's a no.
But I will also
That's
say
not.
this, they kind of like, what's the word I want to say? Telegraph the jump scares pretty slowly, where it's like, okay! And it's like, all right. Like, if it was more instant, it might have like gotten that surprise factor. I will say there was one point where I'm like, okay, I know I'm safe, but I didn't realize there was this mechanic where like the fox guy with the pirate hook you need to have a camera on him, otherwise he'll keep moving towards you. And I was just checking. I'm like, okay, nope, they're all still somewhere else. I was checking like the areas close, and then all of a sudden he was there, and like it took the camera feed away, and I'm like, oh, that was surprising. But like, I don't know. I mean, because again, well, I don't know what the initial intended audience for this game was for that very first one. Clearly, obviously, with the second onwards, it was the children, right? The children. And those children, like Devin said, might be in their, their early 20s now, having seen this movie, and they have nostalgia for stuff, and that's fair. But for the most part, it's that it got popular because of that overreacting of Markiplier and the imitators,
other YouTubers,
you know what I mean? Of that, of like, "Ah!" And hey, maybe that's what we'll do with the thumbnail. Give me some scary, I'm so shook faces. Go on. David, give it a real shot.
I don't know.
Give it a real shot. You just went,
I don't know. I'm not really shook.
Whatever.
I need you to help me out.
Your dog Bubba's is pregnant. There we go. All right, thank you very much. We're gonna use that for the thumbnail. No, we're not cutting this because we've had to cut enough already. Yeah, so that's, I guess, the I don't know if what the games beyond the second one are really like. I just know the first 5 are generally this pre-rendered, shtick, and that's fine. It's not my thing, I guess, personally, but like it's
so you would
someone's
say,
thing, and it's
out of a
fair.
scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most scary thing, you having nightmares, have PTSD, you're going to therapy, and
Jesus.
1 being like, nah, dog, like, come on,
Like cotton candy.
yeah,
Well, geez, you put 10 at, like, I'm basically brain dead. So,
Yeah.
I don't know where, like, regular
you're like
scary
you're like our
should be.
main character in this movie who has PTSD every night,
Okay.
basically, of
I
his
don't know. I
brother
guess-
being kidnapped.
I
that
guess-
level, or just like,
Spoilers.
I wasn't that scared.
I guess
you know?
anything attempting to be scary can't be a 1 then. So, I guess a 2. But, like, I also knew the shtick going into it. And it's not the same. So I can't really, but I will say this, like, this is a part of, and this, I think probably maybe even started in a short-lived, but still kind of prevalent, waiting in the wings, a trend or style for children's entertainment on YouTube, I think in particular, the idea of watching someone experience this instead of them doing it, of scary things that use cute or kiddie-like aesthetics. Oh, it's Chuck E. Cheese. Animatronic mascots, and then like there's like Poppy Playtime that's got a cute little guy, and
There was a lot of those
so
in
many
Japan.
of these.
I loved them. They're so cool.
There's so many of those, like, oh, get it? It's like
Not
the
when they're-
juxtaposition of something that's cute but scary, and like kids like that, so like that's cool. That's cool.
Do you?
So
I
it
was gonna
started a
say
lot of
though.
imitators
To
in
me,
that
I
sense.
put it in the same category. I don't know, I'm really curious for like people our age, or maybe a little younger, or maybe a little older too, who watched this, like who had no idea it's based off a video game, like going in. Did they, just generally speaking, just not like what the movie itself, but like the general appearance of these? Do you find this stuff scary? Because I would put this in the same category as like creepy dolls, maybe even like clowns. Maybe that's its own category. But you know what I mean? Like some people really find
Yeah.
like dolls creepy. I personally
Sure.
don't. That's why I have one creepy doll that I always have sitting in like the lower cabinet in our living room, just in case we have visitors
Yeah.
over and they notice it. It's really weird and off-putting. But for me, it's not. It's a funny
Yeah,
gag.
when I slept there.
But
Yeah,
they
when
know
you
that
slept
little
there,
chibi
you can
Kratos
see it,
is,
yes.
is nearby to protect them, though. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like for me personally, I didn't find the idea of them scary. Like if I saw Chuck E. Cheese chasing me, I'd be
Yeah.
like, okay, like you're not really like, it's not like the Terminator, right? Like the
Like, what do you
Terminator's
got?
scary because he's
right.
Yeah.
more
I mean, I
humanoid
guess-
almost, but
Once they kind of show
And they have
that, oh
guns.
yeah, there's like blades and shit inside them or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I know this thing is capable of killing me, but I think so. Here's my kind of overall opinion on the movie. I think it's perfectly fine. I don't dislike it. We'll get into more specifics later about our main thoughts, but like I will say this in an attempt to not just do the game because that would not make sense if you have a character. Because why would he come back after the second night? In the video game, why would you come back? These things are trying to kill you. And at the end, you get a check. Your weekly check is $120. You could do the math. 5 nights of 6 hours and see what the hourly rate on that
that's
was.
still more than what I got when I worked at that Boy Scout camp in like 2007 for 3
Actual
months.
child labor.
I think I got
Jeez.
I think I got like $200 for 3 months. Yeah, child labor.
Yikes.
But they said, "Hey, my housing and food was free." They said, "I'm like, yeah,
you had me
cool,
to
dude."
indentured servant.
Exactly. exactly. I think in an effort to like make it so that it makes sense, and also not just do the beats from how like the games kind of operate, and actually have a story in there. I think they made it that for someone that doesn't know the shtick at all, like you're saying, Devin, I think they might find it a little like underwhelming and like this isn't that scary because it takes a long while for like real danger to our likable hero to ever happen, because the first time they go like we're gonna like killing mode is on people we are told not to like very explicitly, you know what I mean? So like it's almost kind of fun, like they're getting their comeuppance kind of thing. So I don't know, did you guys feel like the same way that like they waited long enough and it's not super scary throughout? Maybe I'm wrong.
So are you just asking like just over because like yeah, my original question was like, do you just find this conceptually? Like, do you find typically these kind of things scary?
I see what you're saying. I'm sorry. I kind of leapfrogged your question into something else.
But it kind of ties in together, I think. But that was
I'll say no. Just like the aesthetics of it, no. But like, once I learn like the capabilities of murder, then sure. And I will say this.
So like the explanation of them like made it more creepier maybe, or maybe not scary is the right word, but like you found that more.
It made it more like, oh, there is a sense of danger, therefore it is possible to be scared. And once late in the movie they showed that one left of the place. Oh, okay. Nowhere is safe if these things want to get you. Then that ups it because like just fucking leave isn't easy, and you know, but you can't do that now. Yeah, I mean, I'm not like scared by the dolls things. I'd have to be really worked into a shoot, if that makes sense, to really be like, okay, I can like that kind of like a late night paralysis demon kind of thoughts of like, there's no one in my bedroom. What if there fucking is, and that's where he would be, and he's staring at me right now, but he's not real, but like he could be, and I can't turn around. I tried to throw a punch while I was in sleep paralysis once, and fuck, that felt.
Oh my god!
I was like, I'm gonna get this guy. And it was like torture because like you can't do it, but you do it slowly.
Jeez.
And then my cat jumped me.
But yeah, David, what do you think? Because I want to know it. Like,
No,
I feel like
I also don't have a thing. Like I like dolls don't really scare me. Clowns don't really scare me.
Society scares
I don't
me.
have that thing. Okay, not like that deep of a level. I was just saying, like, yeah, this sort of horror definitely isn't like affecting me extra.
I was gonna say honestly, like Slender Man, like conceptually, would scare me maybe more, than like this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of video game of like this kind of
like
era. We even mentioned Slender Man, but that was
alien.
Yeah, I was gonna say Slender Man was like our high school, like late high school. I remember that being like all the rage before Five Nights at Freddy's. So I guess our Five Nights at Freddy's is Slender Man because I did play that. I actually used it for. In my senior year of high school, I did IB Bio, which I failed. The only class I failed in
You
high
dissected the Slender Man?
No, but I did a thing with No, someone else did it. Never mind. I'm claiming something I didn't do. Stolen Valor. Someone else did a test or like a study where you're playing Slender Man, they measured your heart rate and stuff.
Oh.
And that's when I played.
Interesting.
But
if they wanted to fulfill that test, they should then have also asked what political party in the United States they lean towards, because apparently whatever like aspect in the brain that secretes this hormone that produces fear is more common in people that vote right wing in America.
I believe that for other reasons.
They're just scared of everything, I guess. I don't know. It's funny.
Yeah. No, I agree. I just was curious because I know some people like really can't do like even just a normal doll like sitting in a thrift store kind of thing.
Sure.
I like that
have
it messes
some
people up
things.
because I like having a little doll in our apartment, and I always have hiding somewhere that if you look closely is always watching you.
There's definitely things that like others might find like similar to how we feel with dolls, that like I find like this is disturbing on a way where like I can very easily get like, I don't want to be anywhere near that. Like I could find this scary stuff with like I hate the idea of being in water and I can't see anything because I hate what lurks below. That I would find immensely scary.
Yeah,
you know what I
Ocean,
mean?
definitely up there
Like
for me too.
just looking at stuff, or the idea of like, I don't know, being eaten. I'm like, don't like that.
So we know-
scary. Yeah.
So we know Ethan
Eaten alive.
doesn't like.
So a giant whale would
Definitely does
is
not
the scariest
like sharks.
thing for me.
But yeah, I was just curious because I feel like to me that will infect how you look at this movie. Like you said, Ethan, of even people who maybe don't know anything about this, if they don't find this stuff scary, you probably won't find this movie scary. That doesn't mean, and as someone who's watched a lot of horror movies, probably the most in this, probably two of you combined, I've probably watched a lot of horror movies. Every October I watch at least like 10 to 15 horror movies. Sometimes we have themes, sometimes we just go through random ones. But for me, like what I get out of horror movies, like the ones that really scare me are like good atmospheric ones. I always point to like Hereditary, The Witch, are like ones that actually scare me. And I love being that level of scared, but I also have to be kind of, I have to like set the mood for that. Like
Suspend
you said, David.
disbelief for sure.
Yeah. But I also like the horror movies where like, yeah, this doesn't scare me in the sense like, oh my God, I'm not going to sleep at night, but it's like cool looking, or like zombie movies I've always liked because it's conceptually kind of scary. Like, wow, that is pretty terrifying, but I'm not like actually scared of it. You know what I mean? Like there's a difference there, but I can still enjoy it. So when I was watching this movie, that's kind of how I tried to treat it, where I was like, you know what? I don't find this scary, but is it conceptually scary for me? I don't know. Like once I found out that the children are in it, I'm like, okay, that's some Saw shit. Okay, that's a little bit cooler than me. I thought they were just haunted. I will give them credit for like adding that. I don't know if that's how it is in the games. Like you said, there was lore added after the games came out.
I bet that was that like later.
But that's a lot. That's a lot more scarier to me. So I'm like, that's cool. But you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to. It's hard to explain, but like there's like a different level of like scary, where like, like I said, I point to like Hereditary being one of the probably scariest movies I've seen in the last 10 years, where it's like unsettling. I have goosebumps while I'm watching it. I'm laughing while I'm watching it, which means I'm actually scared. If you ever see me laughing during horror movies, it's because it's a nervous laugh. But I love being scared, so it's a weird adrenaline rush for me. But there's like that, and then there's like like I said, like this zombie movie is conceptually cool. Like Resident Evil, Ethan, right? Like I wouldn't call that first movie scary, but it's a horror movie still, and still can be maybe scary to other people. But
sure. That one's
definitely,
I
there's
think,
a different
fun
level.
Adventure.
It's a fun scary movie is the best way to describe it. It's like going through going through a haunted house is the same thing. It's like it's like going to your neighbors when you're trick or treating. You're going to your neighbors whose house is decorated, but it's
like,
nothing.
There's
no pop-ups.
Right,
there's no some sense of dread happening while you're walking up there. You're like, wow, this is cool and kind of scary, but cool. Yeah, versus an actual maybe haunted house where the goal is to scare you.
And also, there are movies and just stories in general, it could be books or whatever, where like, oh, this is scary, but in I don't want to say in like a psychological way, but more in like a moral way, where like afterwards you like, it just sits with me wrong for a while, and I kind of got to shake it off. Like
I think a lot
H.P.
of
Lovecraft type of like, I don't like how I feel after I
always call that kind of like
story.
That's like to me like dread almost, of like this sense of, oh my God, how is that's like some evil shit. Like the idea that could
Yeah.
possibly. I think for me, I get that a lot when it comes to like
Someone thought this
horror-
up, which means it could be true technically.
yeah, or
the
horror
way people
movies
might
that
act.
horror movies that like are loosely based off like serial killers or something. Where I'm like, man, this feels a
Yeah,
little too
feels
real.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I actually don't want to walk my dog at night now because
Right,
like
yeah.
I watched too much of this, Midnight
Humans are real,
Stalker.
and humans can be this scary.
Again,
Yeah.
David's more
Yeah.
afraid of society than anything else.
Yeah, the Joker.
Right, yeah.
I just flash him this
The
card and he
Joker, yeah.
freaks out every time. But yeah, I just wanted to set that because I think this is like an important part to like.
Yeah.
Because I've been having a tough time, I'll say, even ranking this movie, and I've been itching to have this
can
combo
we-
since we watched it because I've been having a hard time of like. I have like a horror movie scale in my head, and then I have the
Yeah.
video game movie
Yeah.
scale, and they're kind of both in different spots, and it's making it really tough for me to rank this
Yeah.
movie low key. So
I have comments
if you
about
wanna-
that, but I'd like to hear Devin's like full, like more deep thoughts. We've been kind of skirting around our
Yeah,
like,
why don't we
thoughts of the
actually
movie
go
and deep
into
in.
it?
So let's jump in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Devin, you picked this movie, so you go first.
yeah, I mean, I drafted it with the hope of this being like a just average film because late in the game here, for folks who maybe the first time watching this, we have a basically fantasy football style draft we do for our video game movies that we're reviewing this season. So yeah, we have 6 each here that we drafted, and I drafted Five Nights at Freddy's, as you can see, pretty late in the draft. My goal is like, hey, if I get a C this late in the game, that's a pretty
Right.
good win, because pretty much. And honestly, on this list too, at this point, this was the last movie where I'm like, I feel like I have a general knowledge of how good this movie could potentially be. I didn't when this movie first came out, I didn't hear anything like super negative about it. Like I didn't
Yeah.
hear like, wow, that movie is trash. So I'm like, okay, I'm hoping to get at least
23 too.
yeah. And when I would have maybe have saw this in theaters just for the shits of it if we weren't even doing this podcast, just because I go to the theater a lot and I like to see horror movies on the big screen. I think that is the best way to see horror movies, is on the big screen where it's loud, it's dark, because a lot of horror movies rely on sounds to actually get you in the mood, make that atmosphere. But yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's, going in, I was like, not super high expectations or anything, but just like, yeah, we'll see. I don't really find this conceptually scary. I never really like knew too much about it, so let me see what this is like. And the biggest surprise to me, and I want to give credits to, I'm assuming this isn't in the games because it's a character, like you mentioned, Ethan, that we're following along, and in the games you're kind of just like the guy who works there, and you got to survive their 5 nights.
And
but
his
there's no,
name
like-
is Mike. The check at the end of the first game is written to Mike, so
okay,
but like it's not a character.
but I'll give credit to, I want to say, the writing, the story, I guess, in this movie, because I was pleasantly surprised to be entertained throughout this entire movie. And sometimes in horror movies, it's the other way around, where I'm like, I just want to see the monster, I want to see the zombies eat people, and like in some horror movies embrace that, right, where they're like, yep, we know this is cheesy as hell, we don't care, we're gonna make our characters goofy and put them into different scenarios, and then you'll have fun watching this movie. But this movie was like at first really like started off serious, and it kind of gets goofy towards the end, but for the most part, like what our main character is going through with like basically PTSD of his
Right.
brother being taken, like I was like, whoa, this was not expecting this deep level of like a idea or story for this movie, and it actually, I think, pays off pretty decently until the end-ish, where I feel like I want to know really what happened. They said his brother was killed, but they don't
be
really
a sequel, right?
right. So but no, I really liked him, and you felt for him too, like from the very beginning, because he and at first I thought he was gonna be like a paranoid guy, and I'm like, oh, is he gonna like dream up all about Five Nights at Freddy's or something, because of that first time he has that like episode, is like he sees a guy grabbing a kid and he thinks they're being abducted.
Right.
So I kind of liked that. I didn't know for sure what was happening until probably 20 minutes into the movie. Like they weren't trying to be right away, be like, this guy's has PTSD, here's everything that happened. Like they kind of shown it to you throughout to keep you interested. And I was more interested in that by the middle of the film than I didn't really care about the Freddy stuff. And I wanted more of his like stuff. So in a way, like on one hand, I'm like surprised and like be like, "Yo, this is a pretty good story." But part of me is like, "Man, I kind of wanted just this story." I wish like they could have done a different settings. I feel like maybe that could have been a cool as just a supernatural thing. You still could have had him work like a job or something, but maybe he's on a camping trip or something, and then you know what I mean, and he can't go through the camping trip or something because of it brings him back or something. I don't know. I just feel like this story was almost too good for the concept of the film, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is a game made for young adults and kids, and it feels like the story is almost like too deep and almost low-key unsettling if, you know, for folks who maybe hopefully have never gone through that, but just like something that, you know, is traumatic like that. And yeah, you really feel with him, feel bad for him and whatnot. And there's a lot of little things too in the story that you pick up on later on. Or, you know, me and Bryn were watching this, and even she pointed out that Matthew Lillard, Scooby-Doo, Shaggy specifically from Scooby-Doo, you know, he was really weird at the very beginning, but like you're like, okay, he's just a weird like you know,
I had a different thought of why he was like that at the end. Like, oh, he is just the guy. I thought it was something else, but
yeah. But even Bryn, like right after when he gives him the business card, Bryn was like, "Why did he like tone switch there? That's weird." And I'm like, "Yeah, that was a little weird." And then like we didn't, you know, it wasn't until later on I'm like, I think he's the guy. Like it would make sense why no one like why he's like targeting certain people to go work this job who are at the end of their. Basically, they have nowhere else to go. I can abuse that, right? And it's just funny as in my past I've tried to use people like that, and they never like call you back or whatever. But
wow.
just
What does
random
it say
tangent.
about us, David?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry David, for not calling back.
Yeah, no, I was saying the
No,
what's
we're
it
the
called?
ones. We're the desperate ones he's using.
No, like
We're the
they're
ones
called
that are like-
they're like career counselors, specialists. They try to find you
Yeah.
jobs. In my experience, they've never.
I was gonna ask, like, is that a real thing?
Yeah,
I feel like
I've
I
used them
see
in
it
college.
in movies. I didn't know it was real.
Yeah, in college,
Okay.
I reached out to like 3 of them like during my senior year because I was trying to find like jobs, and like half the 2 of them never reached out. One guy was like, "Yeah, I can get you a job," and it was all like sales jobs, right?
Sure. Well, David, you should know your hero, the Joker, has one in the movie The Joker. I think
This is not real David lore.
it's real now.
This
It's my
is
theory, a game
Not
theory.
canon. Not canon.
But no, yeah. Sorry, I'm talking a little bit too much, but I was trying to get my first.
I don't think you
thought
talk enough.
First, okay, I won't shut up for the rest of the episode. No, yeah, the first biggest thing for me is like the big takeaway for me is like, wow, this story is really good, almost maybe too good for, like I said, the concept of the film. Like I kind of feel like it kind of almost gets weighed down because of just like these talking animatronic dudes, and I'm like, man, this could have been better if it wasn't using those pieces as its way for him to find, you know, what happened to his brother. I'll give him credit to also for every like well shot. Blumhouse usually does. Who made produced this movie? They've done the newer Halloween movies. They did the Purge movies. I haven't seen any of the Purge movies, but
So an
that's
actual
why.
like horror studio.
They also fund indie games now focused on horror.
Yeah, but Blumhouse I've always respected. I think for me they haven't made like an S tier like horror movie that I can think off the top of my head, but
now
really
we
good at
know what he ranks this as, at least what he doesn't rank it as.
I'm saying in terms of like horror movies.
Up to now, maybe.
But but like for me, like they're always like really solid. Like I said, well shot. I wouldn't put them at like A24 level, but like they're still like I'll probably go give a Blumhouse horror movie a shot in theaters just because I've never really been like disappointed. I actually just saw one. I forgot what it was called, but
Five Nights at Freddy's.
No, where it's like this couple meets this other couple in Italy, and then they invite him over for their house, and then you find out that these people are a little weird, and then it gets, I'm not gonna spoil it, but it's a good movie. Very good. One of my favorite movies I watched this year. I was pleasantly surprised by it. But yeah, they usually make to me like B, and sometimes you get some A. Like the reboot of Halloween, I thought was really cool. But yeah, Blumhouse, was well shot. I thought the pacing was pretty good. And all the set designs are, in at least Five Nights at Freddy's, it felt big. It felt like it was still a little confusing, but I think it's on purpose a little bit to be like how sprawling is this place, and it makes it also easier probably.
And it doesn't make sense in the games either.
for it to shoot in different
My knowledge.
hallways or the same hallway but use it in 2 different ways possibly. So I'm sure it saves some budget. And then so it's not like a huge setting, but I feel like they make it big and it feels lived in and whatnot. Uh, and I thought the characters are pretty good. I didn't dislike any character, except for the ones they want you to dislike, right?
Well,
But yeah, my only negative, and I wouldn't even want to call it negative because, like we talked about at the top here, it's more of a personal taste. I don't find this stuff scary, and not necessarily in a fun, scary way. Um, so I don't want to say it wasn't scary enough, but I also wasn't expecting it to be because I just knew going in I'm not going to be oh my god. But I did like the one scene where, Matthew Lillard's, when he's in the bunny suit and the lights are flashing and he's kind of creeping up and you just see his eye lights. I'm like, that's cool. I'm like, that was cool. Good fucking shot right there. Now that's scary. There you go. I wanted more of that. But yeah, I feel like they showed him too much. At first they were, I guess going to my pacing, I said it was good, but the only pacing maybe I wanted it to be changed slightly was if you want to make them scarier, maybe show them less or just show their eyes maybe more. But
they also
I'm
made
being
it
kind of
very
nitpicky
obvious
there.
it's a human in a suit and not an animatronic. Just the way it was designed, that's a guy in there.
Which I like. I'd rather have been. I think if it was CG, all of them too, that would have been a really bad call. So I think the practical
some of
effects
it
were
might
great.
be, but I was, to its credit, there were moments where I'm like, I can't tell if this is a real
Right.
ring or
I think
if this is
I think maybe for
animated in a
body
sense.
shots when it's further back with them, I think I could see it being CG, and then for close-ups, they have a puppet of some sort maybe. But yeah, I think it's a good, like you said, Ethan. If it's hard to tell, it's good.
Right.
I think that's when you use. I think the best mix is practical and digital, and knowing how to use it with lighting and whatever. But yeah, I really, and this is what makes it tough for me because like I said, I think there's way better horror movies out there that actually either are really scary or if they were fun scary like this is trying to be maybe. I think there's better ones out there in terms of actually feeling that energy. But on a story standpoint, is one of the better stories, and I was pleasantly surprised by it. One of the better stories that kept me interested compared to a lot of our video game movies that we've watched too. So yeah, I'm having a hard time ranking this one, so I'm curious what your all thoughts are. And when we get to the rankings, I think it's going to be, I don't know where to put this still. It's been kind of on the top of my mind since I watched it. I'm like, man, on one hand, maybe it's this. And on a horror movie end, I would say it's here, but then on a video game movie end, I'm looking through the list and I'm like, man, I think it's better than that.
Well, when we get to the end, think more of your gut. I'd like to go next if David will allow it. I'm of two minds with this. First off, I will say, we talked a bunch about the video game itself. I still think, and I didn't vocalize this then, but I still think that the concept of Chuck E. Cheese animatronics being dangerous and alive and wanting to kill you is a good setting. It's a good gimmick, right? The idea of a Chuck E. Cheese at night, you're in here with these things that want to kill you, is a good gimmick. And I feel unlike at least the games I played and seen, this first 5, actually seeing the place laid out, I actually enjoyed the aesthetic. There were real arcade machines in there. There were maybe some fake ones that seemed convincing enough, and I don't know anything about pinball. Those tables could have been real or just made up, but they made a Chuck E. Cheese type looking place look like a Chuck E. Cheese, look like what you would have wanted one of those to really look like when you were a kid, just epic, epic.
It honestly reminded me of Adventure Landing. Shout out to Rochester on Ridge Road there.
Yeah.
But a little bit bigger.
They got rid of the giraffe and they put a sailboat up there.
Still disappointed about that.
Yep. They painted the top of the rock that the giraffe was on blue as if it's water, but it's they didn't paint enough of it, so it looks like there's a puddle on top of the rock that the boat is on. But so I'm of two minds, and I like that idea. The idea. Ignore the game's execution. Because I don't think the gameplay is all that great, but just the aesthetics and idea, that is a neat idea. What can we do with this? And so they're going into this movie. I'm like, how are we doing this? That's cool and unique. And I don't think that is used all that much. And at the other thing, to echo what one of things Devin had said, but maybe I can have my own kind of explanation on this. I was like, at one point, I'm like, damn, you're presenting a much better movie here, and you're trapping it in this Five Nights at Freddy's movies. The idea that you have, I forget what the actor's name is, but the kid from Zathura back in the day, and he's also the boyfriend in the Hunger Games.
I was going to say the Hunger Games guy is how I know him, man. Yeah.
Peter?
Peter?
I don't know if anyone was British in that movie, but I feel like someone would have called him like that. Peter. But to me, he was always the kid from Zathura. Folks don't remember that was the space sequel to Jumanji. Jumanji was a jungle board game. Zathura's a space board game or whatever.
Yeah, God,
that movie came out. We were in like 6th grade, 7th grade. I saw trailers for it, and I was like,
I watched it on TV or Blockbuster when that was a thing. Yeah.
But he looks like that, and that's how I'm like, I didn't recognize him as like the Hunger Games boyfriend. I'm like, that's the kid from Zathura. Good for him. And then I looked at IMDb. Homie's been in a lot of shit, so he was not forgotten by a talent agency. Let me put it that way. But this movie presents a much better concept, straight up. Older brother having to take care of younger brother. They do not get along fundamentally, but there's something. People are messy. That's what drama comes from. That's what's entertaining and interesting. And I would have actually preferred if they never got along in this movie. They have a slight understanding, and that's that. But just the idea that like he's traumatized by this event when he was 11 or whatever, where his brother was kidnapped, and he saw fleeting images of it to the point where it literally haunts his dreams. And he has a younger sister that can talk to ghosts. And the ghosts hate him. I like that idea, and I wish that was just a movie.
It's sick.
I
hope
wish
my kid's a medium.
Exactly. I wish that was a movie that I watched instead of this one. And, like, that's nothing mean about Five Nights at Freddy's, but, like, you literally pitched me on another movie. And I wish I saw that movie that you pitched instead of this one in the middle of it. Because then when we have to tie it back to those kids have to have been killed by Shaggy from Scooby-Doo and put inside these animatronics. If it was from the 80s, I feel like this movie was in the early 2000s, by the way.
A lot of flip phones. Yeah, it was like 2005 maybe. I don't know.
And it wouldn't have been the 90s because no one would have said the 80s if it was like a few years later in the 90s. I feel like people, whatever, that's nitpicky. Certainly not today that they were trying to go for, unless everyone's just broke as fuck in this movie. Like, I got a Motorola Razr.
It might be like Central PA, man. I mean, if you go through Harrisburg, Harrisburg be looking like it's 1982 still there. So
well, you could go further west than like Brockport and Hamlin in Rochester, and you're getting to Lockport, and that's basically also what you described.
Right. These like blue collar. Still stuck, like I said, 40 years in the past. God bless him.
No hate. Because why would I hate? So, like, this movie has that going for it, but then it kind of gets hampered by the fact that it needs to actually tie it into Five Nights at the Freddy's. And that felt underwhelming to me. We get this cop lady character who is so unconvincing in anything she does, and it's at the end like, oh yes,
she's an awful cop or a great cop, depending how you view cops.
Well, right. This drug, I don't know how much of a prescription you really need this for, but fuck you.
I'd be like, fuck you. You just,
I mean, he could have just fished that out. Like, those bottles are sealed enough to be waterproof.
Yo, that's
right?
like $500 without medical insurance. You just chucked it in the water. You don't need this. Who do you know? This is why you don't call cops for mental health issues, by the way.
Right.
Because they'll do that shit at the least.
Yes, because that's what's easier for them.
This Five Nights at Freddy's movie.
They orchestrate the whole thing just for you. That's where all the taxpayer dollars go, dude. That's why the libraries are closed on Sundays in New York City. Eric Adams wants to host Five Nights at Freddy's. But again, like, I get that, like, oh yeah, we got to tie her into the trauma, and like, I think there was a cop lady in one of the VR games, so maybe that's a character. I don't know, whatever. But
she's also guilty, by the way. I made a joke with Bryn.
Yeah,
at the end where they're like waking her up, or he's talking to her like, oh, when you wake up, we'll celebrate or something, whatever he said. And I was like, hey, when you wake up, you're going to jail, so maybe just don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, like, you're just gonna go straight to jail.
On a similar
you're
note,
you're an accomplice to murder. Like, you knew your dad was murdering people, for 20
Right.
something
And
years
you
at
helped
this
him,
point.
regardless
So,
of like if you had
that's-
like a proverbial gun to your head. You
That's
still
life
helped.
behind bars. Put her in jail.
Yep. Lock
She
her up.
knew.
Speaking about her, another. This is nitpicky, but like I don't consider this nitpicky because I feel like I need to have had some sort of throwaway answer for this. It's at the end of the movie, and we're like, we gotta get out. Oh my god, and she's the cop, and we gotta bring her to the hospital. Okay, cool. And then we cut. Oh, it's breakfast time at the house. Cool. We're wrapping up our story. Your aunt was dead in the living room. So what are we gonna do about that?
No one liked her. They're like, thank God.
And like that
if
whole
they weren't gonna
subplot,
do
by
it,
the way,
I was
wish
gonna
was
do it.
gone. We didn't need that subplot. We could have literally had it been like Child Protective Services will take the kid unless you can provide a safe home for her. We needed proof of you're paying your mortgage. And
I think
proof
they
of
should
a
have
job
ended
and
it with
just have that in
her.
there and just have the brother and the sister not get along, because having this thing where like the lawyer disappears after the diner scene, and like the babysitter and the boyfriend's like friends all suck, but like in a way that's like eye roll inducing, like we're gonna rough up the place. Like none of that needed to be there. Make it simpler.
They died. I think they need to show the threat to the audience of what they can do, at least them going inside. I think what they should have done with her, instead of killing her off, was have her appear at the end of the movie like trying to win custody or something, and then they find out that she was the one, like what she was doing was illegal, which was trying to blackmail him, and also basically get him fired and whatever. I think they should have ended with like getting him some sort of justice. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because
his life isn't better at the end.
Yeah, because now that she's dead, like you kind of don't get that resolution of like, hey, I proved my worth to my basically last living family member outside of my sister. You know what I mean? And like proved that I can do this. You know what I mean? So I think that was the kind of like I agree with that. I think that's how I would have handled it versus killing her off. Or if you're going to kill her off, I think they have to come to that resolution before she dies.
True.
Or else it does.
And then they make a throwaway line of like, she just wants the monthly check from the government because of the sister or whatever. But like that's why she's like Team Rocket, kooky evil. Also now just thinking about this, and again, whatever stories, they sometimes exist beyond the page, and sometimes they're confined within the pages. We don't need to think too hard about what happens next, but man was having a potential custody battle over his sister with this one person. This one person is found dead in his home. The only person who can prove that is a cop who's on life support in a hospital. And now we wait until she can do her testimonial,
the sequel.
Right?
The sequel is all about just their relationships. It has nothing to do with Five Nights at Freddy's at all. It's just like they do like a flashback the entire movie of like why there's so much beef and stuff. Like that would have been
Well, and they did announce there is going to be a sequel, and they're already working on it. And I believe that because I think this movie
14 years.
And I think this movie made a lot of money that they're like, no, this is a project we do now.
Is how it starts.
28 days later, but it's 5 Nights at Freddy's later.
December 5th, 2025. So next Christmas.
Yeah, and I believe that
next.
We'll
Christmas.
see.
And so here's how do you handle a sequel for this? The games.
Oh my God! I just read it's Blumhouse's highest-grossing film worldwide, surpassing Split in 2016.
There we go. Again, that's why they're like, we're making this right now.
Oh no, that's happening then for sure. It's coming out next year.
I think they probably are already in the middle of filming. To be honest, I think
I'm sure.
Folks, we did an episode about where the status of video game movies are in production, and I'm sure we said something about Five Nights at Freddy's too.
Yeah.
But we didn't. I remember not wanting to look too much into it to avoid spoilers for this one. I think, but the games, it's like, okay, yep, it's a new Five Nights at Freddy's location, and you're a security guard. Like, cool. You're essentially rebooting the idea, but like this, do we want that for a sequel? Do we want that? And they kind of teased up like, because she asked like, can we go back and see them? As the older brother would be like, no, because they're still dangerous. I don't care if they're nice. They have metal claws and stuff.
They're nice ghosts, though.
Yeah, but who knows? They can. Their emotions can sway with a drawing. Because literally, they go into kill mode on Matthew Illard's Shaggy.
See, I would use that to my advantage, though.
But it could be used against you very easily.
But they won't know that because only I know that power. So now I can just make all the drawings be like, yeah, so let's
The
like...
little sister knows that, and what if she's like, I don't want mac and cheese, and you die now? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Kids
the
can
next-
have
the next-
temper tantrums.
We can send them to New York City, to Wall Street, and be like, hey, there's some
Oh my
bad
God.
guys. Let me tell you. You know who really murdered you?
The first finance bro just draws us a frowny face. It's just
Freddy takes off his mask. He's like, I guess I better put on another one. He puts on the Bane mask because remember Wall Street was a big thing in that
And
movie.
it's actually
Oh my
and then you find out that's the real origin story of Bane. And it's actually a tie-in to
it just starts
Dark
Batman
Knight
Begins
Rises
movie.
Yeah.
You just see the Batmobile like racing through.
Exactly.
You're like, wait a minute, I'm seeing Five Nights at Freddy's 2. It's freaking Batman, but from the point of view of Bane. What the hell?
Hey, I'd be more interested in that than the view of Batman, I guess.
I
Yeah,
grew
so
up in the
I-
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Now I'm the one that talked too much, and David hasn't had a shot. Just some of my thoughts. I am whelmed, but like, yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
upset
bro.
at this movie.
That's funny.
So, David, speak or forever
yeah, I
hold
mean-
your peace.
I think you guys have said mostly my thoughts. I'll start off by saying, like you guys, I was surprised that it was good. I mean, it was like a newer movie, so I guess I like expected it, or I wasn't too surprised, but I was surprised that I was entertained at all for a Five Nights
Fair.
at Freddy's movie. I think them tying into the video game, they did fine. I wish they would have had at least one scene tie more into like a movie-esque thing where like he just didn't have any controls or anything in that like main security room. Like, not that he needed like a steel door to close, because like that wouldn't fit the aesthetic of the world, but like one time, like maybe later in the movie when he knows they can move, like maybe they're just standing like in one of the doorways, right? But he just kind of starts his night there, and then all the action happens elsewhere, which I guess I don't know any of the newer movie or newer games, and I don't know why I think this. I don't know if I saw clips on TikTok or something, but I feel like in the newer games you can move around. And I don't
It's like they're
know.
in
I could
3D
be
and stuff.
I could
like actual video
be
games.
completely making that up, but I feel like that's the case. But so that would make a little bit more sense with this movie, right? But yeah, character wise, well, I guess maybe before I jump to characters, I think as much as I mean, you don't always have to caveat everything. I think this needs to be caveated with, this is for number one, nostalgia of people who really love this game. Number two, this is not for us. So I think we need to be careful about how we judge it in terms of like, just because it's like listening to comedy like you don't enjoy, right? Like just because you didn't think it's funny, like someone else might think it's funny, you know? Doesn't necessarily mean that
Like
it's
Dave
bad.
Chappelle.
Sure.
It used to be funny.
And
Setting
so
up David for a clip there.
no, I'm not saying anything. So
I only like his later work.
So I think there's that. For the story wise, I agree that the sort of PTSD horror thing, I thought that was really well done. I think I disagree with you guys a little bit in that
What else?
I don't think this is I don't think this is necessarily a better story trapped in Five Nights at Freddy's. I think they just failed to tie into the Five Nights at Freddy's story enough. I think it was a little bit, they came up with this main plot almost, and they were like, how do we tie this into Five Nights at Freddy's? And I think there was not enough spider webs crossing and connecting to the other side.
Oh,
and
spider
that's why it
webs.
felt
Halloween.
Yes.
Oh, no doubt.
That's why it felt a little bit weird in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, I think character-wise, most of them were good. I think there was quirky ones that I think are in the same vein of like it's a kids movie, like there needs to be like over the top personalities. It's almost like Cruella DeVille is like this aunt character, like this like clearly like evil, like they just like propose, she's like 100% in it for the money. And so there's characters that I dislike in terms of character development because of that. The babysitter you mentioned, it was kind of like she was completely normal, and then we found out she was on the other side, and it was kind of like, okay. And like Devin said, it was kind of like it broke the immersion a little bit. I was like, oh, they just need her to die to show us like these things are dangerous, and I kind of understood it.
For
but
slasher movies, I feel like this happens a lot. They set up a character you're supposed to hate, so
it's a story mechanic, but that doesn't mean you have to have it at that base level. You can still
I think it could have been done a little bit better. I just 100% don't remember her dying at the end when you guys were talking about that, so I don't know.
So little sister is being watched by the aunt at the home while the kid from Zathura is on his like 5th day, I think. Older brother, sorry. The older brother. And the Freddy goes to the house. And kills
up the girl.
Well, yeah, because like as the girl is leaving, she looks over and we see that the aunt is on the floor and the feet are in frame, and the little kid is like, she fell asleep. He. Because then they get in the taxi, and the taxi guy's like, oh, what? You don't scare me like that. And then they leave.
Yeah, I guess
that
we
was
don't
actually
know that
the most realistic
dead,
thing
right?
for me.
No, because the build up to that was definitely
out.
We see Freddy and he killed her.
But couldn't she just be knocked out?
He didn't show her again, so.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
I'm
okay.
99%
they left her in a hospital, knocked out.
They showed something to the effect of like, "I am killing you." Before,
because
I think this is another issue with the movie.
Right?
I was gonna say that's the one issue I have with this movie. I think this movie would have been better if it was rated R. Showing the killing.
I think it would have taken it to another tier if it was R.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
like if there was blood, there was like
because there was blood, but it was
terror,
like it was
muted.
Yeah, it was muted. There's one handprint the guy does on the window.
Sure,
but like there's literally a saw bit
gets stabbed.
With the.
She gets stabbed.
Yeah, but it's not. I'm saying compared to like they could have taken it to Saw levels, and I say Saw because that first scene we see in the movie was the mask coming down with all the blades, and I'm like,
that's scary.
That would have been cool to just show, even if it's from the side of like just doing some blood and brain matter being splattered all over the place. Or if you don't do it there, you save it for when they actually get. I mean, she gets cut in half, which was surprising for me. The babysitter gets cut in half by the jaws. That was surprising me because it's PG-13. I was expecting them to just cut away again, and so I'll give them credit for like I guess maybe they pushed the envelope on that one. I'm sure they had, because what you gotta remember too, they put these movies through the rating systems beforehand and be like, hey, we really want to do this scene. Is this cool? If not, we'll cut it. But like. There's some movies that try to purposely find that narrow box, or narrow path between PG-13 rated R, where
because PG-13 just sells better than R, and with everything.
And for this movie, once again, it's targeted for people who might still be even 18, 17, 16 years old.
Yes,
they can't get into the theater to see that.
Yeah,
and this is still more than the games we're doing. Sorry, I cut you off, David. What'd you say?
Well, I was just saying, as much as I would like it to be R, I think, like, selfishly, I think the general audience who really this is targeted to, it's like expecting Finding Nemo to be PG-13. It's like, I don't know. Like, what are we doing?
When that seagull pulled out his Glock and said, show me a piece.
I mean, so I think
the starfish exploded.
But I fully agree that this should have been, like, it would have been.
I think that's what would have made it. Yeah, cooler, like you said. Once again, fun, scary. Like, hey, show us a little bit. I mean, that's what I like about the Saw movies is like
the torture element.
the torture element.
foreboding
But
of what's
there's-
going to happen to you.
That's why some people like slasher movies. Slasher movies I feel like are hit or miss for me a lot of time, and another part of the reason I feel like the scariness misses for me. If you're gonna do something like this, I want cool deaths. Like show me something that's what I like about the Halloween movies. The Halloween movies do cool deaths where you're like, so yeah, the older ones, you know, they had budgets and stuff, but like they got more creative of like, hey, not Jason, Michael Myers kills this person in a crazy way you wouldn't expect. He didn't just stab them. It crushed their fucking skull in the car door or whatever, you know, something crazy like that.
Yeah.
That's what you go to see it for. You know, we're sickos, so,
yes.
you know.
You're hoping that, you're like, while you watch the movie, you're like, oh man, I hope they get it out okay, but you came into this movie hoping that wouldn't happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I will say this, another potential version of this movie, we drop the Michael thing, we drop the whole thing, and each 5 nights is a different security guard, and then that's how you can have your no need to escalate every night for the guy. It's just they gotta survive every single night, but then that's less interesting than I think even what we got. But then that could have been kind of what you're but that could have been more of what you're saying. I will say this though, the games don't do kills. You get the jump scare that they got you, and then it cuts to scat it. So, like, the very least, this is more than what the games do. But even I don't think that needs to. I don't think it needs to be as scary or as gory as the games. I wanted to point that out at the very least.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I agree with you. Like, I actually agree with both of you on that. I
was gonna say, for this type of movie, which I said, like it's like a slasher light for me is how I look at this movie, with psychological elements. That's why I feel like where I go back to, like I feel like the story's kind of trapped a little bit, or at least has to be railroaded back to Five Nights at Freddy's. Because it's trying to, like that, the story element felt to me like a psychological thriller or psychological horror where like you're experiencing the psychotic episodes with him. You know, that could be scary, where you don't know what's a dream or what's real or whatever. Movies like The Grudge, I think, do a good example of that, if I'm not mistaken. There's one scene where girl's falling asleep on the bus and then all of a sudden the Grudge is right there, or at night, you know. When that kind of bends reality, I like that. Maybe Grudge is not the best example, but that's where I felt like it was going. And then I was like, oh, that's surprising, because I thought maybe he was going to dream up all the Freddys, and like people don't believe him. Like, you know, he's trying to convince people like, no, you got to come here at night. Like, this shit's crazy. I'm glad they didn't, because I felt it was just, like I said, this movie's different for a video game movie. Like I said, I'll give him credit for really trying something that felt like maybe it was trapped a little bit by the premise of Five Nights at Freddy's, but I'll give him credit for doing it, because it beats some of the movies we've seen where like they play it too safe, or they're afraid to acknowledge the games at all. I don't know. I just feel like we've seen some pretty rough stories where we're like, I get what they're trying to do, but it doesn't execute well. Assassin's Creed's the perfect example, where it was trying to be bigger than what the premise really was at the end of the day. It tried to do too much, tried to make it too
without
grand.
making any sort of statement that might offend anyone on any political side. That's
but yet
why it's
was
just about
political
freedom. They wanted to grasp at it. But what Devin's trying to say is we've gone through our own Five Nights at Freddy's over these 50 plus movie reviews. Now I actually agree with you wholeheartedly, Devin. I now need to take a step into nitpickiness here and point out something strange to me. In the games, Five Nights at Freddy's is open, is a place people go to and buy pizza and hang out. In this movie, it's abandoned and closed. Why do we have a security guard just at night and not in the daytime? And to heighten this, the daytime, those guys break in. So what was the point? Why not have two?
Yeah,
it just makes me ask some of these questions where, like, the game, because, like, you know, every night in the game you get a call from the guy who hired you, and he's giving you some exposition about the place. And he straight up says, like, yeah, I think the reason why they might be moving around at night is because I don't think they're programmed to have a night mode. You know, in the daytime they're walking around and it's fine and it's good, but like at night they get restless or whatever. It's not like, oh, this is abandoned, I need someone to watch an abandoned place only at night.
I'll
during
say
the
that
6 hours.
I'm gonna defend that a little bit because Shaggy at the beginning, and this I think once again if you kind of figure this out as the movie goes on, I feel like just be like, oh, that's what he meant by that, because he does explicitly say he's like, oh yeah, I think the guy who owns it, like it's more of a nostalgia thing for him.
He says sentimental reasons. I get it,
yeah,
but like,
and I think that's what makes. Like I said, if they maybe tapped more into this would have made it more scarier for people like me. Is sometimes in horror movies you need it to be, well, it just doesn't make sense. It's kind of fucked up. Like that's a weird. Why would a guy think that way? That's what kind of makes it scarier. It's like, yeah, this guy isn't normal. Like he's a sicko. He's just setting this up so he can keep killing security guards because he's just a serial killer kind of guy.
And yeah, if it was a business that was open that draws in attention, which these guys could be found, I get it. But like,
yeah.
It's just one of those things where it's like, this was a change from the games, and there doesn't seem to be that much of a explicit, like, we need to show why it's like this. I understand everything you're saying, and I actually agree, but at the same time, like, I just need him to be like, why isn't there one in the daytime? Blah, blah, blah. There we go.
I guess,
you know what I mean?
To agree with Ethan a little bit,
my God!
Now that you mentioned
the day has finally come.
Yeah, this is going to be difficult.
Take a drink of water if you need to.
It almost would have been. I could see a world where it's more creepy, for it to be like we see like flashes during the day of it, full of children, like very happy, very innocent, and then it just like hard cuts to him walking in at night, like dead, like it's all messy. Part of his job is cleaning up. So maybe like he has to go to like, parts of the place and he's turning around and he's like, wait, I didn't, why are they here? I thought they were just there. You know what I mean? So I
bet you this was a conversation
that could have added an element.
They had for sure. Maybe it just didn't fit with the tone that they were going for, where it's supposed to be.
To add it on David, and actually to go with something we've been talking about, I think that you even talked about, Devin. You show, like, after his first night, right? Or maybe even after the second one, where we really know for a fact these things are walking around and they are not, like, safe. And he's, like, scared of them. We then get footage of it during the daytime and just him seeing, because maybe he goes there during the day to see, maybe he needs to talk to someone, I don't know, whatever. And just seeing like children be close to these things, holding hands with these things. Because I will say this, one criticism I had is that like, yes, the pirate hook one is a weapon, but the only times he ever gets like hurt by these things are in the dream sequence where we know, yes, they actually did fuck him up. But I want to see like, how strong can one of these things do if it like squeezed you? I want to see something like that. So then you have that juxtaposition of like one of them holding a child's hand and be like, that would add into the tension of like, I don't trust this at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then at
nighttime, I think that's where the PG-13 rated R issue comes in, because they probably can't show it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't need a watermelon explosion like, of a head. I just need like one of them to like rip a door down so easily, or like push him and he goes flying. Like I wasn't expecting. Maybe he tries to check one of them, make him fall over, and he can't do anything. Show me that these things are strong. They're taller, so they have a height imposing position.
Yeah.
But,
I think they were trying to go for the kind of like use your imagination to make it scarier, and I think it doesn't work, unfortunately. But I think the games work on that front too. Like, oh, they get you. Use your imagination of how they kill you.
Right.
And I feel like they, once again, the PG-13 there's restrictive, but like I said, there was like the girl getting cut in half, and I think that was the most surprising. But I wanted more of that cleverness of like, they're not just coming in and they cut away, or they cut them up a couple times and they're dead. Like, I did like the idea of like them being able to close it, like the almost bear trap kind of element of like they can close in on people. I wanted to see a guy step on one of those or something. Like instead of them showing the stick, the broomstick, like you could show the broomstick, but then you could show it later to be like, okay, yeah, like we know, even if you can't show it because of PG-13, maybe you don't want to show it to risk it. You can, you've seen the broomstick snap, you can imply it, be like, okay, I know what that, I can use my imagination. So I think you need to give some sort of frame of reference or a sound effect even. You could probably match the sound effect to like really push that in your head.
Right.
Make people use their imagination, but it sometimes works. There's been slasher movies where like the character stumbles into their friends being already slaughtered, but like usually it's a radar movie where their skin's peeled on the all over the place or whatever. They're on meat
flayed.
hooks. Yeah, whatever. It's like that's scary, right? But I think it's really tough in a
not to me,
PG-13.
I'm a tough guy.
Don't
get scared. It's Matthew Illard's character Shaggy from the Scooby-Doo movie, aka the guy, the yellow rabbit guy.
See, I know him as I don't know his character's name, but from Without a Paddle, the hit comedy from 2003.
Sure. He dies, kind of how you're saying, by like the trap on the inside. But I feel like they kind of ruined it. They did a thing where like they cut him open to show us the trap, and then I just needed to, like David said, hear it go off. Instead, they really, really show it going into him, and he's.
There was some sound effects, but it wasn't.
I just needed crunch, not shown, but just like the crunch, and like maybe he's in the foreground and the camera's behind him.
He needs to cough up some blood or something.
Blurry body
maybe,
fall
too.
down, but like it's unclear if he's like going to live, if they're keeping him alive or something like that, or if they just threw him in the back to slowly
who's
die.
Who's going to be the villain?
Well, that's the other thing too. Like, how do you do a sequel to this movie? Because they are right. If with these same characters following afterwards of the story, why would we go back there? Why would the Freddy guys?
I would
be
fucking
scary?
move if I could. I'd move
Now,
to like Europe. Like those guys got one.
Well, this guy cannot afford to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying if you could, I'm saving up my money.
Yeah.
I'm moving to another side of the planet.
I think if you could, you'd get another job.
Well, because I don't need Freddy. Freddy ain't getting past TSA. Let's be real now. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to scan it and be like, there's a child in there.
I think by the time that the movie takes place, the child's body would have been decomposed, but sure.
Just a little bag of
some organic matter. Yeah, bones.
Organic matter, yeah. Just
now the second game does introduce remodels of the characters that aren't fuzzy, they're more hard plasticky. And so I guess they could be like, oh, someone bought Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. I think that's what the full name of the place is. I could probably
see that.
And now we're remodeling it. And for whatever reason, the kid from Zathura has to go back there, because the whole
you can just do that.
Then they do my idea.
Exactly.
Or they could just bring a new cast in, but then it's just
that would be a reboot.
Because the movie is set in like 2005. You can do it's 2022. Well, not 2020, 2023. Actually, make it set in 2020, and it's just about a guy who doesn't believe COVID's real. And he gets mad that no one's coming. He's like, I bought this, I reopened it, and now the liberal plot of is trying to destroy my business. It's just that's the whole movie. There's no. The only horror is
the hero has
liberal
blue
machine. The liberal machine stopping my business that I just bought to reopen and stuff out here.
Anything else before we kind of move on to the kind of hard question of how we would rank this? Anything else anyone wants to bring up?
I guess I'll just say the only other thing, which we've already touched on, is like I think they kind of flubbed the ending a little bit, which we've already covered. I think it would have made a big difference. Well, I don't know if it would have made a big difference, but I just think they flubbed it a little bit.
They should have killed the police officer. Not because I hate police, but just because...
we don't know if she's dead.
She was just... Yeah, I think the implication is she's going to live because we get their whole visit her in the hospital scene. But,
yeah. No, I think it would have been... I don't know. It just would have been like... I think it would have been cool. I guess I don't know what else to describe it. But if she dies to her father because... in a way, it's like, well, you could have stopped all this. This is on you. So like... And you're in my head... just as bad because you let this happen, and you had a full opportunity to just dome him.
Yeah, I was thinking that when she shot him in like the stomach, I'm like, I literally had the word dome him in my head.
Yeah, just like pop him. It's over. You're actually a hero. But no, yeah, it's. I think she's just like the worst character in this movie. I liked all the characters, but like I think she's just. I mean, they show that she's weird from the beginning, and like there's a reason why she keeps coming back to
Yeah.
this, because she knows something.
She just acts too
She slacks off at
suspicious
work to hang
first.
out at the place
Yeah,
too.
it's just too suspicious, not in a thriller type of way of like not a creepy suspicious like why are you here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like I would understand, like, well, if he asks that question, she just says, "Oh, I'll leave," then you don't have a movie. I get that, but yeah, I would like a little bit of pushback and a like, well, because this is my thing about cops. This is something I in like at least in movies and stories. Guy has done nothing wrong, but like be confused when she's at the door and like seem a little sleepy, and she's like, "You're suspicious. Therefore, I get to do things now." Is like my like, well, no, that's not how it should work. At the very least, if it works like that in real life, I don't know. But like, I don't know. And like, there was a part where it's like, "Do you want to dance?" It's like, the fuck are you still here for? These
I think
things are scary.
I mean, they're kind of, to me, trying to set up like kind of a relationship there, but then it never really comes to fruition. But I'm okay with that. I don't need every movie that has like a potential flirtatious scene to become a thing every time. Sometimes you kill off that character to really like make it scary. Like, okay, damn, like I thought she was gonna go to the end of the movie and somehow save the day, or he has to save her. Classic thing. It's
Was
like,
she
no,
gonna be the final girl?
yeah. But no, she dies. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's like those issues with it. But I'm like, just compared to like what I was going into, and then compared to other video game movies, I'm like, I'm gonna let some of that stuff slide, because there's been just so many worse stories that
equal
we've
types of why characters in these other movies. But why don't we move on and actually now get to the meat and potatoes of this whole thing? Yes, folks, here on the Sonic Movie Show, we rank and review. We don't really rank them. We tier them. We tier list them. Right? Is that what we
tier them
Ranked in
up?
a tier.
Hey, this is my first
Ranked in a
episode
tier.
here. But okay. Well, yes, we have ranks within the tiers. That's right. We have, what did we decide last time?
I'm
We
sure
have a
we'll get
decimal
into that.
system that also uses the letter grade, so you can be a B
Yeah.
point C.
Yeah. Don't confuse them yet.
Yeah, so we did this draft. Devin mentioned this earlier, so I'll go quick on this. We each picked 6 movies. This is Devin's 4th pick. There's points on the line for this. We come to a conclusion collectively on what letter grade we want to give the film, and then points are awarded because of that. There's a decimal system. We'll talk about that later. I forget how I normally do this. Do I have you talk about the tiers first, or do I ask us what we would give it? No, I give the tier. We gotta explain the tiers first. Ethan, we gotta explain the tiers first. Don't you know this? Jeez. And yes, there are points associated with these. But Devin, in 3 minutes or less, what are these tiers? Go.
Yeah, so the tiers are based off a video game movie scale that we kind of conjured up here. There you go, another Halloween kind of term there. That we conjured up here, where this is on a video game movie scale. So like an S tier video game movie, like S being special or best. Maybe you've seen a Sonic video game. S tier, you did so well on that level. It's above and beyond. A video game movie on these tiers might not be the same of what you would tier it normally. Let's say if you used a similar scale. So like an S tier video game movie might only be a C to you or a B to you, A to you, whatever. That's totally okay. This is just on a video game movie scale, so there's a curve. So yeah, S, A, B, C, D, E, and F. S is superior, special, has that, like I said, a special sauce to get you out of the A tier. But yeah, these are movies that we would highly recommend, even if you're not a video game movie fan or know anything about the games. These are just fun, good, well-made movies, or at least just entertaining. Throughout, we pretty much have no qualms with them. Maybe there's some nitpicks in there, but you just kind of know it when you see it. Yeah, S tier, Detective Pikachu, Prince of Persia, Sands of Time, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, we would say is an S tier video game movie. Then we get A tier, which is under S, but still really, really good movies. It's just missing that special sauce to get to S tier, but we still would probably recommend all these movies on here. Have a lot of fun with all of these. Then we get to B, and B is the kind of start where it's like, hey, there's more good than bad. Maybe it's like a 60-40, maybe for some of us, 70-30, whatever it is. It's more good and bad. Some of these movies, not necessarily always well made, but are well loved, right? We liked everything in it, or we liked the concepts in it. enjoyed the movie still. We just had some qualms with it. Movies like Resident Evil, the first one. We have Dead or Alive, which is maybe not the most well-made movie, but we love that movie. It's fun. Then we get to C. C is unfortunately, has most of our movies in it because it's kind of our average tier, where it's kind of 50-50, good and bad. Maybe it's a little up, a little down, but kind of just your average movie. Maybe it is well-made, but just kind of boring. Maybe not boring, but just kind of just satisfied. You come out of it being like, kind of wanted more. But yeah, there's some of these movies are well made, some aren't well made at all, and that's kind of what puts them in the C tier. Our widest tier, we always say there's tiers in the tiers. Sometimes C is that one to kind of get out of. It's kind of like the quicksand in between the good and the bad. Next we have D, which is more bad than good. Assassin's Creed we talked about earlier, where well-made movie, has great actors in it and production and whatnot, but kind of just was was boring and kind of a letdown of sense of what is it trying to tell us? I don't know. Also have Warcraft on there. Well-made visually movie, but what the hell happened in that movie? I always say this every episode. I don't know any of the character names. I couldn't even tell you what happened. It's just kind of visually was cool to look at, but I don't remember anything. Then we get to E tier, which is just bad. We don't recommend these at all. Just poorly made movies probably, and if they are well made, there's something really wrong with them that we just have a hard time with, and they just suck. E is really just for it sucks. Good example of this would be like Blood Rain, poorly made and just a poor story, poor everything, really bad movie. Monster Hunter, well made, I guess, but just didn't really tie anything to the games, and kind of just felt like it was embarrassed to be part of, the Monster Hunter world. Just kind of a letdown. As well. But then we get to F, which we hope to never have a movie in. This movie, the only movies in it currently is Postal, which is just an offensive, just not just a bad movie, it's like downright offensive. Shouldn't have been made. I was embarrassed to watch it and talk about it.
That's right. Thank you, Devin.
Sorry, that was a little bit longer, but I think it was better quality this time. I hope.
That was good.
I agree.
Solid quality. And
you know what? Maybe I'll just
say
slow the
E-tier,
video down.
Sometimes E tier movies get put there by mistake.
Hasn't happened yet, but I can see
everyone else knows what
day.
I'm talking about.
And yeah, so all these tiers have a point awarded to them. Should this movie get the F, Devin gets 0 points. If it's an E, he gets 1. D 2, and so on. S gives 6 points. There is a counterpoints tally here. This movie was not counterpicked by anyone. The next movie that would be is In the Name of the King, a Dungeon Siege tale. So we can talk about counterpoints when we get to that.
I'm sure that's going to be solid.
It's gonna be
Hey, I mean, it might be. We don't know. And we will keep our opinions till then.
Fingers crossed.
So now each of us are going to give a pitch on what we think this movie belongs in.
Even though I was going to say last time we did, I think David started
bring that up, yeah.
All at
we
once.
all said it, which was kind of exciting, but I don't know. Like, I go back and forth.
I think
where
we were more on the
it's your
same
movie.
page there, but do you want to do that? I mean, it was David's call last time.
I think I'm just having a tough time, and I want to share more in detail what I mean.
All right, so
so
we'll say it in unison then. No, I'm kidding.
But no, go ahead.
Give us your pitch.
Finish.
Give us your pitch. What do you want this? What do you think that this movie, in your heart of hearts, your gut of guts, and your furry costume?
So yeah, like I said at the very beginning of this episode, I had a hard time kind of ranking this one, and going through this conversation, I feel like I'm a little bit better, but I'm still curious what you guys will say. Because on a horror movie scale, in my own head of all the horror movies I've seen, this to me is like in a lower C range, just because of, like I said, it felt like I was getting pulled back to Five Nights at Freddy's when I was really interested more about that story and being more of a psychological thriller versus a very, I don't even call it PG-13. It felt like a PG slasher film at moments, because of the lack of, it's hard to do a slasher movie without showing any gore. So I think that's where I'm kind of let down on it, but also it's a taste thing too when it comes to like, was this scary? So I'm not going to harp on it too much for it not being like scary or I'm shaking in my boots. So because I think it's sometimes a taste thing, and how much you also commit to being scared. If you don't have the lights off, if you're kind of going in being like, this is gonna be stupid, I'm gonna watch this and make fun of it the whole time. I've watched movies that people have said are scary, and like I can goof through it and be fine. But if you know, go in open mind and let it kind of embrace it, sometimes it's good. But this movie, unfortunately for me, just wasn't scary. But like I said, it's kind of a taste thing. Yeah, so for me, I put it on the lower C tier for horror movies. And that's where I'm like, damn, this makes it really tough now, though, for a video game movie curve.
Because it's even lower, right?
Well, because I think for this, like comparing it to some of these other movies, it's tough because some of these aren't even horror movies, and I prefer horror. Horror is my favorite genre besides maybe science fiction, in terms of movies I like to watch. So that's what made it really tough. It's like, how the hell do I compare this to, I don't know, Hitman or whatever, or Persona 3 the movie #1 Spring of Birth? How do I compare it to that? So I try to compare it to other horror movies that are on our list, some of which are my favorites, like Resident Evil and Silent Hill, which are both B tier films. I think also in C we have the other Resident Evil, a lot of the other Resident Evil movies in there, but we have Corpse Party in there, which was a kind of a interesting movie that we finished our last season on.
Yeah, it was our 50th movie.
Our 50th movie, where it was like, you know, I liked a lot about this, but there were some things I was like, or maybe it suffered from not having a huge budget, clearly. You know, those kind of things. So going into tonight, I'm like, man, I keep going back to Resident Evil as like kind of my place marker, because I really put that movie probably higher up than Ethan does. Of just 'cause I have a lot of nostalgia for that movie. I grew up watching it. I've probably seen it like 10 times at this point. Same with Silent Hill. I really like Silent Hill a lot. I think I could make an argument for A tier, just for me personally, on the video game movie scale. But we have it at B tier. So that's like my barometer, and I'm putting it below those movies for sure. But I just don't know how below. I'm like, am I putting it like so below that it belongs in C, or am I in B? At one point I was like, man, is this A? I'm like, no. I'm going to return to Resident Evil a bunch of times. I will watch Silent Hill again in a heartbeat. I don't know if I'm going to watch this movie again just because I don't care for the Freddy elements of it. If it was something else, maybe I would recommend this to people a lot. So I don't know. I'm really like on the fence of, is this a B or a C? I'm kind of leaning towards, I'm like in between a lower B, a high C right now. And I think it's better because I think everything I've said in this was more good than bad. And I feel like that's what we've said throughout most of this. I think you guys are a little bit more critical of it, but for compared to what other stuff I'm seeing in C tier, I think it's a little bit better. But then I'm like, were we too harsh on all the Resident Evil movies? I don't know. Probably because we binged all those
movies. Are
so I don't know. I'm kind of
the first one, but
I am in lower B, high C, but I'm curious what you guys will say, because I guess I can maybe see myself going back and forth. But to me, I'm just trying to go by the definition of even what I just said 5 minutes ago, which is there's more good than bad. And I feel like by that definition, it belongs in B, but I'm okay putting it at a lower B for the sake of the issues we had with the film. But I feel like there was more good than bad. I enjoyed it from the very beginning to the end, and I had fun with it. And I can't say that about pretty much all the C tier movies, except maybe the Tomb Raider movies.
Okay. My thoughts, straight up, like, I agree with a lot of what you said. I'm not as big of a horror fan as you are. I would say that I don't even find as much enjoyment in horror movies as you probably do, let alone haven't seen as many. But so like putting that stuff aside, like, it wasn't really scary or anything like that, but it's again like I knew what they were going to be doing, so like it didn't come out of left field as much as what would have made me be like, oh yes, this was definitely scary. And yeah, but like, I'm in a similar spot with you, Devin. I will say this though, I can't put it in the C tier just because of the types of movies we would be putting it with. I think this is just a better looking film than a lot of C tier films. Look at the C movies that we did for this season so far. Granted, one of them's animated, and all of the rest of them are a lot older, but trying probably with similar budgets, to be fair. This one looked pretty nice, and I think generally speaking, as far as being a video game movie, it was at least wanting to do its thing, and it had some had some issues on how it would adapt it into being an actual movie, because they can't just have 5 nights of them trying to kill him because he would just not come back. Blah blah blah. Like, so they had
I think
these,
if this
these
movie
challenges.
was if this movie was made in like 2004, by the way, 100% they would have done that. And it would have been real bad.
Oh,
I
sure.
think.
Yeah.
But it would have been a cult classic, because we would have been like, oh my god, it was night 3 is my favorite night because the cupcake explodes or whatever. I don't know. So like in my mind, I'm like, no, this is better than a C. I would personally put it as at a low B. I don't know, David.
Yeah, to me, this was obviously a B. It's more good than bad. This is the definition of a B tier movie. I think it's right in the middle. It's B tier point C tier. Right.
B point C.
I'm more of a BD. I'm more of a BD.
Yeah.
But I see you.
Yeah, I mean, everything we've said. I have gripes with this movie. I think it could have been better, but at the end of the day, it was entertaining, surprisingly. But yeah, I mean, it's just a B.
Okay.
It's
I
it's
think
got 2B. 2B.
As much as I would like you to not be getting so many points, because I
Right.
think you're really pulling ahead here.
here's
with
the thing.
this.
I'm looking
And
at
I
the
gotta
rest
say,
of this. Sorry, you go on, David.
Well, I was just gonna say I accidentally watched this movie way early, and ever since then I've been like, "Oh, Devin's like so far ahead," because I knew what was coming.
I'm looking at this too, David. I'm like, I'm looking at my next 2 movies and David's next 2 movies.
I think,
And
me
there's a
you are gonna be
chance I could
close.
get close to David and maybe
think
just
so.
barely surpass him. But I
think
can't
so.
match Devin. Yeah, I can't.
I was really proud of my draft because I was like,
Devin's going to
I
have
trust all these
almost double
themes
my
here.
points already. So I can't. Yes,
Yeah.
Devin picked to win. I picked to have fun, and David picked like a noob,
at random.
which is what makes it fun, in my opinion.
I'll just say, yeah, this was I mean, I'm still kind of bummed about that Mortal Kombat Legends. That's a bad pick at that top of the draft there.
Yeah, it's tough.
But like, if I'm redrafting, yeah, I mean, I still want to do a thing when at the end of the season where after all we've ranked the movies, I want to see like what would have been like the perfect, closest to a perfect board you could have got realistically. Because I'm a weirdo like that. I want to be like, well, assuming everyone drafts, in the right order, like who would have the best board if you drafted
and
it in a specific
remember,
order.
there were 6 movies
True.
that weren't picked at all, and they're unknowns. They will be available next season.
I know we almost added a rule where it was like you could swap to one of those if you really weren't feeling confident if you're
I
like
would
down
swap
and you're
my
like
next movie.
No, because the counter pick system is like, no, we gotta lock
Yeah.
these.
yeah.
in.
It was too much rules and so we
Yeah.
threw it away. But it was
And
I
we
was
can
like trying to
always
find a goofy
escalate,
idea to like make it
Yeah.
be like, okay, you can trade.
All
Like,
right,
we
new
can trade
rule.
picks.
We can swap points. Devin, do you want to swap in my movies for your movies right now?
Maybe next year. Maybe
Okay.
next season. I'll think about it.
We are unanimous. It is a B tier, so Devin is earning 4 points. However, he could be earning a little bit more than 4 points.
This is
Isn't
another reason
that
why I picked it.
right,
I'm like,
Devin?
I'm hoping the Five Nights at Freddy's fans love the movie a
I
lot.
could see
that they
there
gave
being a
this
lot
a
of
high
hate, though. I could see there being a lot of hate to this movie.
Yeah,
Just like because everyone hates like the overreacting Five Nights and Freddy's like.
If I were to make a
audience.
guess, David, I think that gripe is old news, and I think
Really?
again, I think the kids who watched this 10 years ago are now 20-something and are feeling nostalgic for the first time, and they have material wealth, and they're excited that this movie exists, and I can see them being like, I'm
if this
glad it
movie
exists.
came out. Yeah, I wonder if this movie came out in 2016, how its reception would have been, regardless of like if it was good or bad. Just because of, like you said, like there's just this natural thing to be like, it's popular, fuck it.
Right.
It's not for me.
Yeah.
I definitely had that opinion 10 years ago. Like, what is this shit? And I don't like see it as much as I could have seen it if I was younger. But
Yeah, I think like I agree kind of with Ethan to an extent, but let me see here. I have it.
Well, while he's pulling it up, Ethan,
Yeah.
what do you think? We're both gonna try to guess here, see who can get the close, just for funsies,
Well, I wouldn't
What do you
agree.
think it is? You have strong opinions, it seems.
Well, I wouldn't agree. I'm going to guess 92.
Wow.
Going high.
My gut said 50%.
Wow, so there's a 42-point gulf between us.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would
get in
not
that
be
21
surprised if it
point
was
right in the
much
middle.
above that.
I'll say one of you is closer to the critics review, and then one of you is closer to the popcorn
I wonder
meter,
which one
which is
is
a good
which.
spoilers. 86% is the.
Damn.
Okay.
So I'll take
wow.
anything above 70 on
Wow.
this one for
What's
this late in the
16 plus
game. That's a
86?
huge dub. Huge
That
dub.
would be 102? Is that right? 60 plus
Oh.
86? Siri?
Yeah.
Isn't that 120?
Hey Siri,
Six.
what's 16 plus 86?
No.
102. All right, so Devin's new
job, Ethan.
point total is just shy of 10 points more than me.
Oh my god.
With the same number of movies on our belt, 21.02.
So bad. 4
Yikes.
points behind.
It's about a consistency, man.
Ninja Gaiden, your last pick has to be an F tier.
I mean,
It might be,
David,
maybe.
if that movie is F tier, you would gain 4 points.
That's what I'm saying. I need 4 points right now. I'm 4 points
Now,
behind.
I'm hoping the same for a Dungeon Siege tale, personally, because that is my counter
you
pick
could
on you.
easily surpass me if it's F
Have all my-
tier, which I'm really scared about.
Have all my
Maybe the
picks
same director as their only other F tier.
Yeah.
What one did I pick? I did the professor one, right?
You did Professor Layton.
Professor
Both of you
Layton.
picked Mario, which got you, I believe, 2 points each. Yeah, you got 2
Yeah.
points each from my Mario pick. And yeah, Devin, you picked Professor Layton.
I
and
still
the
don't know
Eternal
why I
Evil.
did that. I think I said this.
It was his last movie, I
episode.
think.
I was just like, I'm just gonna go again, so we're not double picking on movies. I think I just kind of was like, fuck it, I'll just do Professor,
Yeah.
because I'm like, that kind of sounds boring, low key. So like,
I think.
like,
I think the other thing is there is some famous actor in a Dungeon Siege tale.
Jason
I don't
Statham.
remember.
Jason
Jason
Statham.
Statham. Okay.
which we're hoping
So
will counteract even for your,
I'm really hoping this was his breakout movie that no one's ever heard.
I don't
of.
know, man. Michael Madsen was
Yeah.
in Blood Rain, which the same director did, and we are pretty sure Michael Madsen was drunk on set
Wow.
during the filming of that movie.
Yeah, I
But,
mean, I'm hoping, for your sake and just for our own personal enjoyment, I hope the Jason Statham, like, curve, I guess you can call it, the enjoyment that he can bring to a film. Because I've seen movies where he's not, like, it's a bad movie, but it's like, fuck it, it's cool because he's in it.
Yeah.
Versus the Uwe Boll curve. It's like, what curve is more
Or
powerful? We'll find
the
out.
other thing, like maybe some of the jokes Uwe Boll is gonna like. You have to say this joke. He's like, no.
Fuck that.
oh,
I'm the
yeah.
beekeeper.
Maybe
He's just
he had
like
some balls
he
and
like
took
he
a stand.
sticks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I did watch The Beekeeper. Good movie.
I heard
It's not great, but it's
some
fun.
cool
It's
things
good.
about it, and I haven't seen it, so I gotta see it.
It's
Now,
just
the
cool because
next-
he kills like hedge fund kids, like people
Right.
who are just like the worst people on the planet. And he's just like, I'm the beekeeper. You're doing it wrong, or whatever he does. I don't know.
Now, the next movie that we're going to be watching is another live-action film.
Another
based
horror
on
film.
A game from a similar time frame, Neko Atsume House. Yes, that is such a question mark for me. When I picked that,
It's
I'm like,
live
I have
action?
no idea. Yeah.
I thought for sure it was animated.
Nope, it's live action. The guy taking care of a bunch of cats, and that's
Which is
it.
a horror
This is
movie
gonna
for some
be
people.
so
I'm telling you.
Like, who knows what it could be? Like, literally,
It could be
it's
a
such
cute
question
movie,
mark.
though. It could make us cry. Who
Yeah.
knows?
I mean,
think that's one of those
That's
movies
what
that
I'm
can make you
hoping for.
cry.
That's why I picked it.
It
All
was
right.
higher on my list, on my pre-draft list, because I had that as like, hey, if it's available, my probably second to
Really?
last pick or last pick. I think I had that one pretty high.
Okay.
Just because I'm like,
When
it
was
Actually,
sounds
same
cute.
for me with Bayonetta, which is similar because that's your second to
Yeah.
last pick as well. Okay. Before we move on, I believe I just heard the postman ring someone's doorbell. I wonder if anyone got a letter.
Oh
We're doing
my
this bit
God.
anyway. David, I think
Doing
you got
it
a
right
letter.
now?
Don't dox us by
I
having
don't-
the addresses
I don't
on
understand
the
the timing of why in the Five Nights at Freddy's am I reading this? Is it just because this is after the?
Hey, you're
Borderlands?
board,
Sorry,
and
spoilers.
we're sitting at the desk, and oh yeah, you
Okay.
have this letter. So this was written
a
months
beautiful
ago.
font. Hard
It
to
is,
read.
thank you. You need to read it out loud, straight into the camera.
Oh boy. Dear David, Ethan here. I just wanted to put this in writing because it's hard to express these types of things in person, face to face. The fact that I'm writing this at all hopefully speaks to my character. I'm a good person doing good things. And by reading this, you're acknowledging how good of a person I am. But while I may be great, it's not a unique or special quality I may have. No, I believe even this part of me is also potentially within you. I'm stalling. This is supposed to be an apology. This is pause. This is such like Ethan.
Yeah,
like,
I know, Ethan coded.
This is
If
so
I found this,
Ethan
if I
coded.
found this on the street
I would be like
randomly,
whoa,
and be like,
this.
"Yeah, why did Ethan drop this in the middle of Denver? What the hell?" Like,
All right, back to David. On a recent episode of the Sonic Movie Show, available on YouTube and anywhere podcasts can be found, Devin and I reviewed the recently released film Borderlands. In this review, which I won't spoil, I made a pair of apologies to you, David. I won't rehash the first. You can watch it in the episode itself. I did. It's basically me apologizing to you that a video game series that you love had a terrible, terrible film adaptation. The second was more complicated due to the fact that it involves episodes of the Sonic Movie Show that had yet to air on YouTube and podcast platforms. So I wrote it down in this letter for you to read out loud on the next episode of the Sonic Movie Show you were to guest on. I will cut to the chase. I can
I'll
tell you,
stalled
you're not.
throughout the whole
You're
thing.
not cutting to the chase. I see how many more paragraphs there are. It's 3. I'll cut to the chase, but hopefully not in a way that makes it seem like I am rushing this apology. I certainly do not want to be perceived that way. I am a good person, as we established above. However, I think for the sake of the episode in which you read this aloud, hello, YouTube, we should speed things along so as to not waste our audience's time. So here we go. Third, here we go. David, on a recent episode of Sonic Movie Show, you, myself, and our colleague Devin, just colleague, feels bad. I'd call him a friend, but I don't know. Reviewed the 2017 film Dead Trigger. In that episode, you, myself, and our colleague Devin debated back and forth about the merits or lack thereof of the film. We fought over where the film should be placed in our tier ranking system, and I would end up winning. The film was given an E rank and placed in the shit tier amongst its fellow bad movies, capitalized. Bad movies, the noun. That's not what I'm apologizing for. I won because my truth was greater than yours. I am, however, apologizing for this. Another colon. David, during that episode, I made the following statement. This is the worst film I have ever seen. End quote. I was definitive about that, not only about video game-based movies, but of all cinema. David, wow, worse than Postal. Interesting. David, after watching a Borderlands movie, I want to apologize for that statement. After watching Borderlands, I realized that Dead Trigger is still the worst film I have ever seen. LOL. Forever yours, but not exclusively Ethan.
Yay!
I still stand
Wow.
by David in that, though. You know, I also agree with you.
Yeah, I think
I don't think it
it's
was the
D.
worst movie. I don't think it was the worst movie I've ever seen. I'm in the.
It was a D. As
playing
much
the
as
both
you hate
sides.
to say it, it's okay. This whole
not a D, but
this
it's
whole
not the
thing's
worst movie.
rigged. If I lose by a point, it's rigged.
Well, so you can
Thank
get
you
that narrow.
for that
It can get that
unthoughtful letter, Ethan.
So, David, do you accept my apology?
I acknowledge your apology.
Oh, I like it. I like it. The drama continues.
Okay, well, as much fun as we had debating the merits and not lack thereof of this film, you know, I think it's time for everyone's new favorite game show, Chuck's Lawyers. Yay! How exciting. Here's how this
my God.
game show will work.
I'm winning this one.
Now,
Better, dude. We
folks
need it.
know that we have this overall game within the game shows within the game where there's trophies awarded for the person who wins the game show. Trophies have exchanged hands, and we've done some bonus rounds and here or there. Our current standing is with 3 trophies is David, but with 11
3 can be a lot.
trophies is
Is the
Devin.
underdog.
Is the
Not
underdog
the
in his
underdog.
heart. Devin, yeah, so we're gonna see if David can win his 4th trophy or if Devin's just gonna keep steamrolling. It is
How
still
many trophies does Devin have?
he has 11.
11.
Okay.
It is still anybody's game, and I mean that wholeheartedly. It is still anybody's game. Some
doesn't
have to
feel
work
like it,
harder
Ethan.
than others.
As the second underdog, as the underdog.
Right.
How many dogs is there under? A lot.
David is the underminer from The Incredibles.
Oh, that's sick. I can see that.
We're going to see what happens. In Chuck's Lawyers, this is a very simple game show. I've been holding off on this type of game show for a while. I am basically going to present to you a collection of Chuck E. Cheese ripoffs. And you're going to tell me if they're real or fake. We're going to go back and forth. David will tell me his answer first, then Devin. The next one will be Devin going first, and then David. The third one will be David going first, and then Devin. I'm going
So
to
not
read.
a snake draft.
I'm going. Well, this is what I thought a snake draft
Call back
was.
to the preview.
It's okay. It's funny.
For what it's worth.
Zigzag draft.
Sure.
Zigzag.
I'm going to read the name off on this pizzeria arcade type of restaurant, and then read a description of it, and then you will tell me if you think it's real or fake. This time around, we're not going to tally scores until the very end, and yes, there is a tiebreaker should it get to that. And I'll
So we won't even know
explain.
if it's right or wrong.
But not until the end. This is how we used to do it back in the day,
Oh
remember?
my god! Wow.
Remember? This is how we used
Like
to do it.
Warzone. Or
I don't
fake
know
news?
if this is gonna help.
Well,
I
we'll
feel
see.
like this is only gonna hurt me.
We'll see. We'll see. All right.
I mean, I like
Ethan's
it. I'm
trying
just
to give a way to,
predicting.
like, help David's confidence going in the game. He's like, you won't know if
It's
there's
just I
losing.
just
You can play
yeah.
better maybe. If you don't know
And
you're
maybe
losing.
that was part of it. All right. Because David is far behind overall, David, I'm going to defer to you. Do you want to start this zigzag draft or whatever you guys referred to it as?
last time.
As first or second?
Yeah,
Take
last
it or
time
shoot.
I said second, and I got my ass handed to me, so I'm going first, baby.
Okay.
Who wants the ball?
Give me the ball.
Our first hit on Chuck E. Cheese's Lawyers is Fun Zone and Pizza. Reborn from a Chuck E. Cheese that received little funding or support from Chuck E. Cheese Entertainment, Fun Zone and Pizza would open in 2011 and close in 2011. David, is this real or fake?
This seems so real. I could absolutely see someone owning a Chuck E. Cheese franchise, closing it, losing that franchise, and being like, you know what? It's just a Fun Zone and pizza, because that's what Chuck E. Cheese is known for. This is real.
Okay.
Absolutely real. 100%.
Devin, do you think Fun Zone and Pizza is real or fake?
So what's funny is if we weren't doing the zigzag, and if I was going or if I was going second every time, I was just gonna match David on purpose so we'd do a tiebreaker.
Wow.
But I'm like, God damn it,
Just
I
all
can't
come
do
down
that.
to one.
Yeah, just purposely like make it just go to overtime. Man, Fun Zone Pizza definitely sounds like something I've seen in like Pennsylvania or that kind of just rural. We're like, hey, we can't call it Chuck E.
Yep.
Cheese, but they found like the branding of Chuck E. Cheese somehow. Like they still have a Mickey Mouse or equivalent or Chuck E. Cheese equivalent mouse dude in the thing, right? But it's like super sketchy. Probably like black mold growing in the bathroom or something. And there's like one cook there who doesn't use gloves. Yeah, I'm gonna say real as well. I hate to copy David, but I'm gonna say
Okay.
real as well.
Okay.
Just because it sounds, I don't know, it just sounds like like
Sounds
a
real.
really awful ripoff.
Okay. Both the boys say real, which is allowed. On to number
Thank you.
2. Devin will be answering first this time. Our next hit on Chuck's lawyer's list is Playtime Pizzas or Pizzazz Party. Playtime Pizzazz Party. And the description is this. Opened in a mall in Cincinnati, PPP would go on to open 3 more locations in the Ohio area. All 4 restaurants would close down in the early 2000s after failing health inspections. Devin, is Playtime Pizzazz Party real or fake?
The fact that you messed up makes me think it's real by saying pizzazz versus pizzazzy or whatever you said. Makes me think it's real, or you're playing like trying to act it up a little bit because it is fake, but you're trying to make like, oh no, I messed it up. Because I feel like you've
Which
done
way
the
is
same
it?
thing with, like I mentioned earlier, Warzone or fake news, which the OGs remember. Fuck it, I'm going real. Let's do it.
Okay.
It kind of low key sounds like Ohio.
David?
He's looking at the other
As
screen.
on my record.
He's looking at the other
there's
screen. Is he
just
cheating on there?
No, there's just a motorcycle that went by, and it's almost as loud as me talking right now.
Oh. I thought you were
I just-
Googling. He's like,
No,
Playtime
no.
Pizza Pizzazz Party.
This is, to me, so Ethan coded that I have to go fake.
Okay.
I feel like, and this is the real strategy of the game, folks, is learning what's Ethan coded and what's not Ethan coded. This is the true strategy.
And that's what's worked for you in all these
Yes,
games.
and it's what's worked for me in the initial 3 games until I went on my 11-game losing streak. Not quite. I betted some and lost. Fake.
Okay. All right. Dave is going to answer first for the next one. The next hit
Trying to figure
number
out
3.
how to tie.
Hit number 3 on Chuck's lawyer's list is $ pizza cheese.
Bruh.
Opened in 2021 by Web3 and crypto shill Mark
I was going to say, is it a
Engelbreyer.
crypto?
This arcade and restaurant opened in Sacramento to negative reviews for fake arcade machines running off Android phones and a high entry fee focused on an exclusive NFT. David, is this location real or fake?
Real.
David is saying
If this
real.
is fake, I feel like this is so creative
Okay.
to make up.
Devin?
Sacramento is kind of that Silicon Valley, so it kind of makes sense. But it sounds low-key, the name is kind of, it's too crypto-y. Like, I feel like someone mocking crypto would do. So I think Ethan's BSing here. I think this is Ethan coded as well. Like David said about the last one, but I disagree with them on that one. But now I think it's Ethan coded for sure. 100, 100, 100, 100. No cap, as the kids say. Yeah, fake.
Skibbity.
All right, now I have a question.
Skibbity.
If you were to see something on the street and you were to be like, oh, that's so Ethan coded, is that supposed to be a positive or a negative aspect?
No, it's not positive or negative. It's just Ethan coded.
Fuck.
I'm gonna start using that in my day to day
Yeah.
with random people at
Damn.
work or whatever. Be like, "Who's Ethan?" Be like, "You just know
this
when
drawing
you see
is so Ethan coded.
Okay. Well,
it." It's funny.
Devin is now going to answer first for our fourth hit on Chuck's lawyer's list. This one is simply called Chico Cheese. A Brazilian
good.
knockoff of Chuck E. Cheese that had its own animatronics. The place burned down at the turn of the century, and the land now contains a hospital. Devin, is this
Where was
real
this?
or fake? In Brazil.
You said it was Brazilian.
That's
you-
right.
You said Brazilian style. Can you read that?
A
off?
Brazilian knockoff of Chuck E. Cheese that had its own animatronics. The place burned down at the turn of the century, and the land now contains a hospital.
See, that
Wow.
low key be Ethan coded now. You know what I'm saying? Like the way it's written doesn't seem like a Wikipedia way of writing. So it's kind of Ethan coded. Yeah, I'm gonna say it's fake.
That's the only way we guess. There's like so many other things we could
Because
go
none of these
off
we're gonna
like,
know. Like none of these
yeah.
we're gonna know unless he he
Yeah.
found one specifically from Rochester that was closed
Yeah,
in
that's a good point.
1999 that maybe one of us would know.
We
But
would have heard of.
yeah,
Okay.
I mean Chico Cheese sounds kind of good though, low key.
David?
What did you say, Devin? You said it was real, or you said it was fake?
I said it's Ethan Could. It's fake.
Okay. Right. I understand where you're coming from, but my gut is telling me real for some reason.
And your gut's been wrong
And-
a lot.
As of late, yes.
I was trying to since we don't know the score, I gotta
Oh
try
my-
to
You're in my
manipulate him.
head. You're in my head.
You know you want to
Yeah,
go fake,
I
brother.
think
You know you got to.
no. I feel like this is the reason. The first one, the PPP, I said was fake. It was because it was so outlandish and funny. But Chico Cheese is like kind of boring. It's just like, yeah, like Chico Cheese. So I'm saying real. Like this is not anything crazy. This is a reasonable name. Real.
Okay.
I'm glad I convinced him to go real because I really do think it's fake.
I would have hoped
But-
you
but I
would
was
guess
trying to
what
help
you
him.
thought it was.
But I was trying to get him to go fake because I'm trying to make him really go real. See that? Mind games. Game within the game.
I don't play into your mind games.
Apparently
I
you
went-
do, because you're down by what? 8 points?
No,
your
see,
head,
that's
dog.
not me playing into mind games. That's just me being terrible at these game shows.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, who
It's
knows?
just a skill issue.
Okay, well, that was our fourth one. David is going first for our fifth hit on Chuck's Lawyers list. This one is called, this is our penultimate one, by the way. There are 6 total. We usually always do 6, but sometimes I forget to mention
I
that.
think you use the word penultimate on every single game.
I
Every
like
single
the
game.
word.
Yes.
Which I'm glad you
Yeah.
do because I like the consistency.
Thank you.
Which is very Ethan coded.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
It's teaching the youth what penultimate means. It's
Absolutely.
not
Really
the
drilling it
ultimate.
home.
It's penultimate.
Absolutely. All right, our fifth location is called Games E Pizza.
Oh man, this one's tough.
This Chuck E. Cheese inspired restaurant opened in 1992 in Florida and is still open to this day. A local paper once ran a story about the place being haunted. David, is this real or fake?
Wow, I go first on this one. Oh,
You know what it is though. Trust your gut.
my gut says real for Florida. This is such like a Florida thing. Games E Pizza. This is so close to another one, and I think one of these is real and one of them is fake. I forget what the other one was called, but there's another something with like games.
There was
something pizza.
Pizza Z.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if mine was
One of
real or
those-
fake, and then this is the opposite. Whatever.
Yeah, he saw this
alright.
one or the other one and got
Right.
inspiration. I see.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. We're
Or they're
getting
both
into
fake
his
because
psyche.
or they're both fake because he's like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna put a lot of Z's
Yeah.
at the end of these.
Yeah. There is a lot of Z's. I'm saying real. I mean, if you made this up, I think hats off to you for making it Florida because that makes it so much harder.
Okay. All right, Devin, you heard the man say his piece. What do you think this is, real or fake?
Do they got this shit in Florida? Everyone's old down there.
Yeah, but they have wild shit. There's also young people wrestling
They
Crocs.
wouldn't make a
you know?
GTA down there if it was all
Alligators,
old
but-
people.
Do we know what part of Florida? Is it Orlando?
I
Miami.
cannot say.
Because it's fake.
Is that what you're going with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, you caught him.
Caught him. Red-handed.
I'm not gonna
Gotcha. What's
give
the
more
street it's
information
on?
than what the description is. You can't just ask me 20 questions.
Is this real or fake?
All right.
No one ever. Ethan didn't make a rule where he can't. He could just answer like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's real. This whole time he's like, actually, yeah, you
Yeah.
could have just asked.
You just had to ask me the
I'm gonna
secret
do that on the
passcode and I'll
tiebreaker.
give you the answer. Yeah. All right. Okay. Time for our last one. Devin is going to answer first on this one. Let's see how this works.
Gotta
Our
close it out
last restaurant is called Chuck E. Cheese. Spelled
Bruh.
Chucky, and cheese has a Z instead of the S.
Oh my god.
The
Here's a third
description
G1.
reads, opened in Mexico in 2007, this ripoff of Chuck E. Cheese has several mobile games that are now considered lost media. They shut down in 2011 due to a cease and desist letter from Chuck E. Cheese Entertainment. Devin, is Chuck E. Cheese real or fake?
The only part that's giving me like a weird element to it is like, why would a Chuck E. Cheese, which I'm pretty sure is an American institution, would be able to sue a Mexican institution? I don't know how that works. I'm not a lawyer though, so maybe you can do
I
that.
have no idea. That's a good
But
point.
I don't know if you can, like, what are they gonna do? Like, come to court? Okay, I'm in Mexico.
What court?
Yeah, I mean, like, yo, where? Freaking DC? Like, I can't. No, I don't need to go. So maybe they did a cease and desist, but then like nothing really came out of it because they can't really enforce it. But the mobile game thing's also a little weird. It's almost way too specific. But you know what? I'll go real because I feel like I've done a lot of fake, and one of these has got to be right. And if I'm wrong, I'm okay losing. That's what's different between me and David. Actually,
He has buffer. Being the
David-
underdog, he has such a high lead.
Well, no, see, being an underdog, you can't go in mentality worrying about losing. You know what I mean? You just got to play the game, and the cards will fall how they fall. That's why David, unfortunately, will never be an underdog because he's so worried about winning.
Yeah, that's why I'm underdog. I worry too much about winning.
David.
I'm gonna say this is fake. I feel like the last part of the description seemed very Ethan coded. Also, like a video game being made after it, I feel like is too coincidental to us reviewing movies here.
Interesting. Okay.
I see that. But I went with my gut.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel that.
Well,
In my gut.
Yeah.
I will say this. Actually, we're going to go through it bit by bit. That's how we did it before.
Yeah.
We're going to go through it bit by bit. So
I
the
don't really
first...
remember what I said, so hopefully you wrote that
Well,
down.
I'm going to tell you. Because I was keeping track. How would I keep score if I wasn't remembering what you guys said? Our first one was called Fun Zone and Pizza. Both of you said it was real, and it is. Fun Zone and Pizza was real.
Yeah, we had that one locked in.
Okay.
We were so locked in right
Our
there.
second one, Playtime Pizzazz Party. You guys were split. David said this was fake, and Devin said it was real. This is 100% fake, and yes, I did mispronounce
it is
it and then
Ethan
correct
coded.
myself because I wanted you to think it was real.
I saw
You
through
got
it. I saw
played,
through it.
Devin.
No, but I knew that.
But then you didn't do it.
Just deny.
At this point, David has 2
No, I
points
knew.
and Devin just has 1.
Oh boy.
Our third location, $ Pizza Cheese. We were also split on this one as well.
Yeah.
David said it was real and Devin thinks it's fake. One of you's correct, obviously. And that would be Devin. This is not real at all. So thank you, Dave,
Wow.
for saying I'm
Good
very
job.
creative in how I wrote this. We are
Yeah,
now
good
tied
job
back
on
up
that.
2-2.
Damn.
Our fourth
That's
location.
genius, man.
Our fourth location, Chico Cheese from Brazil. You were split on it once again. David went real, but Devin went fake. This one was real, and their mascot was cute.
Yep.
So David is
Was
3. Well, yeah, because they closed.
Used to be.
They burned down.
They're 80
remember?
now.
That's the craziest part. That's why I feel like, yo, he's gonna think
They
it's
haunt
fake
the
because
hospital.
it burned down. That's it. David is up 3 points to Devin's 2. Well, David is up by 1 point, but David has 3 points at this point, and Devin has 1
Come
point. or 2
on, I
points
can
by
do
this
it.
point.
Can you,
Our
can you
fifth-
put the points on the thing?
No, I'm going to do it at the
Okay.
end. This is a lot of exporting the thing back and
I
forth
know.
and forth.
It's fine.
Our fifth location, that's why I'm saying it out loud, was Games E Pizza. Once again, we were split.
Uh-oh.
David said this one was real, and Devin said this
Yep.
one
I
was
don't know
fake.
anymore.
This is
I
the
think
opposite.
I think it's gonna be
Games
fake now.
E Pizza is fake. It's 100%
No!
not real. Thank you
Shit.
once again, David, for saying I'm so creative in how I wrote
But see,
this.
Yeah.
This is why I was joking at the question too. Is like,
Ugh.
oh, I knew that, but that means because I know this one because I knew that that
Oh,
one
he's
was
thinking
actually
Endgame.
yeah.
Now
That's
we
why
are
he's the
tied
underdog.
up 3-2-3. Fortunately
Huge.
for this
This is
last
not
one, you
good.
guys were split.
Should one
So,
of us change our answers then?
Chuck E. Cheese. No, that's not how that works.
To go to overtime?
Chuck E.
Oh,
Cheese.
man.
Chuck
It all comes down to
Chuck E.
Florida, huh?
Cheese. It's Florida, that's right. No, Florida was Gamesy Pizza. That was in
Oh,
Florida.
wow.
This one opened in Mexico in 2007. David, you
Right.
said this was fake. Devin, you said this was real.
It's fake.
It's real. Devin, you
Damn
gained
it.
4 points to David's 3.
Damn it.
That's
God.
right.
I think I metagamed that low key. So I was
Why?
like, my goal was like, I know one of these. Once they saw the third one, I'm like, if the other two are fake, one of them's gonna be real. So that's why I went with real on this last one. Only on a hunch. I'm like, he might have a real one at the end, but
This was the first one I put in
Wow.
because it's wild that they just call themselves Chuck E. Cheese and they just spelled it a little differently. Phonetically, you
Yeah.
pronounce it the same way, and yeah, they got sued, and that's why they sent a cease and desist letter, and that's why it closed. Now, for fun, I'm just gonna say what the tiebreaker was. Devin, you earned yourself another trophy.
keep stacking.
Gotta forget.
Lean over
forget
till it's
to-
over, baby. Gotta keep.
To put that up
Keep
there.
foot on the
Devin
metal.
now
I'm
has
pretty sure I don't have a chance.
12
at this point.
trophies. I will say it's still anybody's game, but it's close.
Because Ethan's gonna
How?
find a way to add like 20 trophies at the
close.
end. Well, it won't even matter.
Now,
Oh
if
my
we
God.
were to get to the tiebreaker, this is what it would have been: the Pizza Planet, and its description.
Oh, I thought it was called Tiebreaker.
no, that'd been funny.
I was like, whoa.
The description for this would have been: Pepperoni, the panda, leads the troupe of panda mascots in this 1980s Chuck E. Cheese ripoff located in Buffalo, New York. They once had a marketing deal with the now defunct Buffalo Stallions indoor soccer team. And this was real. So,
Really? I thought wasn't the Pizza Planet something in Toy Story?
yes,
Yeah,
and that
it
was
was.
in the thing I read about it, but it was called Pizza Planet in
Oh.
there. And by the time Toy Story came out in 95, this had been closed down for like a decade.
Yeah.
So that would have been free and open. So,
Wow.
congratulations, Devin, on your 12th trophy.
Ain't over. Ain't over.
The
On to the next one.
underdog finally gets his own. Congratulations.
The
Real
champion
proud.
isn't worried. He always comes back.
Absolutely. This was a fun one to research because I could have gone a very dark path about murders and stuff in Chuck E. Cheese. And I'm like,
Jeez.
Which one of these
Eh.
murders that happened in a Chuck E. Cheese ripoff is real?
well,
Yeah.
someone did hold up a Chuck E. Cheese and I guess kill some people, so that's sad. Anyway,
Jesus.
thank you all for watching this episode.
Jump scare. Jump
Oh my
scare.
god! Right at the end.
Whoa.
Hey, if we did it right, his face is covered up by a clickable YouTube link, so
Yeah.
now it's coming into view. Thank you all for watching this episode. We had fun, didn't we, guys?
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
That was
Remember
fun.
to like and subscribe on YouTube. There's a bell. You can click it. I recommend you do. I heard it gives you pizza if you do that. Write down in the comments below on this YouTube video how much you enjoyed this YouTube video, but only write that. Remember, we're on podcast services like Apple Music and Spotify, so hit us up wherever you prefer when you're driving your car. Do not watch this video while you're driving a car. Listen to us. Then when you get home, watch the video.
But if you are though, like take a selfie, like of you watching it while driving.
No.
Hold your license up, too. And just
Oh,
stand
And close your
below.
eyes.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yes.
Close your eyes and drive drunk. Just kidding.
Oh my god.
Hey, a beer a day keeps the police officer away while I'm driving. Yeah, we're also on social everywhere you can find socials at Sonic Movie Show. I believe there's a lot of cool, fun episodes in the pipeline that I'm excited to review more of these movies with y'all. So, as we always like to end the episodes with a very simple phrase: Freddy got fingered.
Ready out.
Freddy.